I've been quiet for a minute, I've been grinding, still in it, I've been counting these digits. Excuse me, I know I've been quiet for a minute, but I'm back on my business. If you see me, don't trip, just excuse me. Wrong if I do, wrong if I don't. That's why I do me no matter what, so excuse me. Lie if I do, lie if I don't. The proof is in the story, take a seat and excuse me. The crash came when the cash came. Spend it before you get it like those rookies all on draft day. For the love like it's match game. Hit the ground running, really do it for my last name. They act different when the facts change. I'm not with the tip for tag games. In my own league, I don't chase game. In my own league, I don't hang with lanes. I know I've been quiet for a minute, I've been grinding, still in it, I've been counting these digits. Excuse me, I know I've been quiet for a minute, but I'm back on my business. If you see me, don't trip, just excuse me. Wrong if I do, wrong if I don't. That's why I do me no matter what, so excuse me. Lie if I do, lie if I don't. The proof is in the story, take a seat and excuse me. Now how could that be? Talking about who can be talking about me. Feeling like Stretch where I got all this reach. Feeling too blessed when I step on these beats.
All right. Did I bring us up? Let me start my cam.
Yeah. That camera up, brother.
Man, there we go. Looks
What's going on, man?
Face like that. All right, brother. This is celebrating the last weekend that you will be in the country. You are leaving out. As I said,
Sunday. I will be headed to Houston from Kansas City, and then I gotta wait until 1 o'clock in the morning, Cinco de Mayo, before all you fuckers start getting drunk. I will be on a plane, Freedom Bird to Taipei. Then from Taipei, I got a 2-hour layover, and I will be arriving Monday morning at 11:40 into Manila Airport.
Man, we ready to do this, brother. We ready to do this.
I'm doing it.
You are not late, but it seems like the doctor is late, but we don't want our audience to wait.
You know how doctors are on call, man. So we just got to do what we got to do so the doctor can get in the house.
Yes, but tonight is going to be a special night. It's going to be a special therapy session. As you know, we usually have some people to come aboard, and we found that they had some mental issues. Really one way to address this, man. So
right. It's been a long time coming for this brother. He needed our help for a long time, man. We're gonna have to do some exorcisms on him or something. You know what I'm saying?
So tonight, what we're gonna talk about is a deflection. As y'all know, when sometimes this person, he does not, I don't know what kind of degree he does, but he does have a master's in redirection, where he likes to avoid, and here's my psychoanalyst before the doctor comes aboard. So how I've analyzed it is he likes to avoid emotionally charged or vulnerable topics because he steers it somewhere else. He uses humor and sarcasm to dodge direct questions, or if you want to go deeper, he does that. He has a shield up. One thing that people, especially the deflectors, when they don't like to do, they always answer a question with a question.
But then that's a feminine trait, you know, and we all know that he claims to be a male feminist. So maybe that's part that rubbed off on him in his older years, being in his 60s, you know, that he's gotten a little, more sensitive in his older years.
I do agree. And just like any superhero, he uses deflection as his shield. So in my opinion, what has happened is, when you try to talk to people and you have a conversation, I think it's a self-defense mechanism. It allows them to avoid uncomfortable truths that they just don't want to confront. So if you're talking to somebody and all of a sudden you ask them, do you like chicken? And then they start talking about apples and oranges. You're like, well,
I didn't say nothing about no damn apple or orange.
So I think it's a form of self-defense. And, I don't want to use, Freud? But I think it's developed this habit, like they say, it's a likely developed habit from past experiences where vulnerability led to pain, judgment, or loss of control.
Right.
So I want to know what's in the past that has brought this brother to feel like this? So
Right.
it has to have been something. Yeah. So another part is avoidance of accountability.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That's a big one for especially a man.
Yes.
We are the kind of guys that stand up in front of and say, "Yeah, we're gonna have to take that L."
Hmm.
Again, that's another feminine trait when they don't want to take accountability.
Yes.
So maybe he is on the side of the feminist movement because he is more reflective of that group.
Oh, that's a good one. Deflection is a sign that when you deflect, it's because you do not want to reflect. Boy,
Oh,
deflection is when you don't want to see your reflection.
oh,
Because yes, subconsciously you believe that facing the truths will force you to change. And change feels threatening.
I got to give you points for that one.
I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it.
Got to give you points for that one. You dug down deep for that.
Dug down deep. Also, the same person has moved 10,000 miles
Hmm.
and is choosing celibacy as a control mechanism.
Say it ain't so.
Yeah.
You moved to one of the smoothest spots you could possibly be, where the women are more feminine, caring, submissive. They will bathe your feet to your back.
Yes, they will. But that's not good for him. Because I think what happens is it has allowed him to control his environment
Mm-hmm.
and his relationships to avoid any triggers. You know, celibacy removes the intimacy, which requires vulnerability. And that's his biggest fear. Being vulnerable. Being vulnerable. So I know y'all may not know who we're talking about. We will be bringing him up in a little bit, but I wanted to psychoanalyze before the doctor came in to see how you think that.
Our therapist is running late. Georgia is running late. You know, she's got a lot of things on her plate. She is going to be trying to start her own live as well, her own channel. So she's coordinating all that in the background, right along with keeping her clients straight. So I apologize for her being late. You know, she's usually cordial and on time.
So if I break this down and let me see, let me look at the chat because I want y'all to maybe guess who we bringing up.
Oh, they already said his name.
Oh, there he said his name.
Yeah, brother D Ward right on it.
D Ward is right on. So my question is, why does he deflect? And this is a possible psychoanalysis of it. So deflection and avoidance. He has a fear of vulnerability, a fear of rejection, trauma from the past, confrontations or judgment. Man, that sounds, he moved far away. It's his desire for isolation. It's a defense mechanism. Choosing celibacy, avoid risk of intimacy. Because this should be your time if you're that far away. And I want to play this real quick while I go into that. You moved 10,000 miles away to be alone.
But he says he's not alone. He got all kind of friends.
Oh man, this is what the dudes say about loneliness.
Told you the most important health threat to your life after the age of 65 isn't heart disease or cancer. It's loneliness. And what's not being talked about is that the largest group of people in America that die from this are men over the age of 65. If you're retired and think you could just slide into this phase of life, you could be walking into the deadliest trap ever. I remember.
Loneliness. You move all the way to isolate yourself because it can't be about money. Because if you move far away, you should have a network of friends, females, come over, all of those things.
You should be golfing. You should be doing all the things you love to do. Yeah. It took all this time to get there. Most of us don't even make 65. Let's be real.
Correct. You move that far away to not have intimacy, to not have somebody there for you. That's kind of scary. That's scary. But another thing is why, and I've seen this with a lot of people that we talk to, is they don't like to talk. When you try to nail anyone down on a specific subject, they'll talk about anything else but that subject. Or what they'll do is when someone says, hey, I don't agree with stats. Okay. And then in the next sentence, they'll be like, black men had the most erectile dysfunction there is. Well, where did you get that from? That's what the stats say. Wait, hold up. I thought you didn't like stats. I don't like stats.
Again, but who usually says they don't like statistics besides for a female?
Or a male with female tendencies.
There we go again.
Where the stats are wrong. Or they don't do the due diligence. This is how people say stats are wrong. I'll give you an example. I just heard it today. In war, I'll ask you this because you've been in armed forces.
Okay. When
you have war, what percentage of the men die compared to women?
If there was a real stat, I would say 95.6% men die compared to women.
All right. Now, I would take that stat and say that is because, now, here we go. Someone who don't believe in stats, or they do it to their women, they say because men die because women know how to fight better. And so since women know how to fight better, they live longer. That's how you manipulate a stat, because we know that that's not true. And right. That's what a lot of times they do. They manipulate that stat to say, oh, it's because of that. When we know that that's not true, they take the stat and try to change it to their narrative.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus Brown hit it right on the nose. He said they like the stats when it fits their narrative, just like they like protector providers when it fits their narrative, just like they like when they want to be treated equally. But if there was a dangerous situation, women and children need to go first. You need to stay back and protect my back. Why can't you sit there and fight next to me?
I told you a lot of women are 50-50 until the bill comes. When that bill comes, you got to pay 100% of it.
You're the man. Wait a minute. I thought we were equal.
So the question on the thing is deflection. Why do a lot of people use that? Is it that they scared to face the truth? Is it that when we try to talk to people, even in therapy, I know people that go to therapy, and that's why I really wanted to have the therapist on. They go to therapy and they try to I wouldn't say outsmart. They just won't even talk about the real issues when they go to therapy.
No, because they got to look good. They got to look good for the therapist. They can't be the root cause of what's going on. So they will gaslight the therapist.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the issue comes from. Another aspect is when they try to laugh it off, or they just talk about something completely different. Now, I know a lot of you have girlfriends, wives out there, and you ask them a question on a subject. When you ask a question on a subject, they talk about something else. Or instead of answering, they say, well, what about you? And you hear this all the time. Well, what about you? Well, I understand I might have some issues, but we kind of talk about you right now. Now we can't talk about you. So I'm going to prefix some questions. We got him in the background, but I want him to think about some of these questions while he's back there, because we're going to ask these same questions we come up. I want to ask him, why do you think it's easier to change the subject than to answer directly? What's the worst thing that could happen if you are faced with?
Hold on. That's an old man. You got to let him write it down.
Oh, he gonna write it down.
Oh yeah, give him get a pen and paper.
The second would be, what is the worst thing that could happen to you if you face the truth head on? When was the first time you felt that answering directly led to pain or trouble? And you know, I know a lot of women that do this. They would tell you how much money they make. They'll tell you, they would tell you they were SA'd. They could tell you all that. And as soon as you ask them about their body count, they will change the subject. It's like you can open up about every vulnerability in your life, but you can't judge me with that.
Oh, you better not, because they're going to turn around and use it later against you.
Mm-hmm.
Can't even trust them with that.
My other question is, does distance, him moving away, give him peace, or does it protect him from certain people or realities? Because because you can't say it's the cheapest. Because the same person talks about black women, black power, black this. There's a lot of African countries you could have went to.
Yeah.
That would have been just as far away, just as inexpensive. Could have been some black ones. Also, he says that he is voluntarily be celibate. What is celibacy protecting him from? How is him being celibate? What is that protecting him from? Usually in an age like that, you actually cling to people so that you're not alone, that you can share experiences. The other question is, when he deflects, what is he trying to avoid? Embarrassment, fear, or accountability? I want you to help me psychoanalyze him a little bit before we either have to bring him up face to face or the doctor comes on. With those questions I asked you, what is your diagnosis?
He has a little bit of narcissism in himself. I would dare say he's confused. I think he's confused about a lot of things in his life. Even at an older age, I think you can still be confused about different things that are going on in your psyche and why things happen to you. In the military, we call it compartmentalizing. Some people are self-taught how to do that, and some people just do it naturally. We as Black people have been traumatized since we were children. So Black men especially, we've always been told to suck it up, don't cry out loud, don't do a lot of different things from the baby boomer realm. So in that respect, I would say he suffers from a lot of the stuff from the boomer generation and the things they had to experience in their life. He said he grew up in a family of sharecroppers, or at least they did their due diligence in the American South. So there's some residual teachings that might have come from that. Corporal punishment comes from that type of mentality. They were whipped as slaves. They transferred that to their children. That Bible was used to attach them to the hip of obedience. They actually had a slave Bible. A lot of people don't realize it was literally a slave Bible where they took certain things out of the Bible. So they were teaching the slaves to be obedient to their slave masters and let God sort it all out for them. It wasn't for them to rise up or take advantage. The Israelites and so many other people did in the Bible. They made sure they redacted all that out of the slave Bible verse. So that goes into generational teachings. But go ahead.
But thinking about that same thing, I know some women, and I think I forgot the comedian's name. What's the comedian's name? Old dude. He passed away sometime not too long ago. Used to have a drink for him. Man, what is that dude's name? But anyway, what he was saying was his grandmother, or maybe even his mother, if you told her that Jesus was a Jew, she'd be like, no, he ain't. He was a Christian. And she's like, Christian. And it didn't happen until after. And I say that to say this, that no matter what kind of truth and evidence you would show the lady, she would always believe a certain way. And I see this with this person, no matter what kind of evidence that is brought to the forefront, you can have 99 things, but if there's one thing to grasp onto, they still go with the grasping of it. that they are so afraid to admit, and not just him. We have other people that we talk to that you show them evidence, you show them stats, you show them all of these things, and they still have it in their mind that men are bad. And then when you say, well, sir, I understand you're saying men are bad, but what about A, B, and C? And the only way a woman chooses her man. And this same person that we're referring to said there's women he dated had the choice between a drug dealer and him. And they went with the drug dealer. So how does that make the women great if their choices are bad? Let me play a couple more videos in the meantime that talk about the deflection.
Come here, son, nephew, young man. Let me holler at you. There's something wrong with a man who can't answer questions directly. Either he's got something to hide, he's emotional and unstable, or he's a narcissist. Either way, that ain't somebody you want to deal with or spend too much time with. All you'll do is be talking in circles. See, the emotional man is not trying to be logical or come to a logical conclusion. He either just wants to be right or he just needs to feel good. You see, those are emotional mind games and they're feminine in nature. You can't win that type of game. All you can simply do is not play. And as always, never lose the will to win, never lose the will to survive.
Man, I think all the things that you said he's narcissist. You said feminine. They talk in circles. It's very difficult to be around. So do you think that's why the gentleman is isolating himself? Because it's very difficult for others to be around him.
I mean, that's a high possibility, and hopefully he'll be able to answer why he chose to live the way he did, where he was. I mean, monetary wise, I understand he's saying I'm on a fixed income. It's cost effective for him to be there. But there's so many different advantages here in the United States that you can take advantage of and still get on with your life without having to go, 24-hour flight to get over there.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're nowhere close to any kind of family or people that you grew up around. And hopefully if you're not antisocial, you can get a circle of friends. But if you're not getting out of the house,
nobody looks like you. Nobody talks the way you talk. Your food is not the same. And so you're going there for what reason? It can't just be the cost of living. Because there's a lot of places in the world you can go for that cost of living where the people speak
and shorter flights.
Yeah, speak English, look like you, understand your background. So is it an isolation move?
Definitely isolation has something to do with it. And usually when you start self-isolating, you are dealing with some background mental health issues. There's no reason why, as human beings, we are not wanting to be either nomadic or inclusive of a group. We are built to socialize, not be antisocial.
And usually the people who are the antisocial are the one, like the Unabomber.
Man, you had to throw a Unabomber on the bus?
You know what I'm saying? Those people that isolate themselves, are for certain reasons. Let's see. Let's do one more here. Let's see how this brother explains it.
Yeah, you heard from Georgia in your text, Erlo?
I have not. So we're gonna wing this. We're gonna make it happen.
Okay, but be careful with people that bring up everything except for what you're actually talking about. You know how you will make a direct point that is very specific in regards to a specific sector of a topic? And a lot of times you will make that point with evidence, and people will talk around everything except for what you're.
Who is that? Because I know that I've asked specific questions a few times. I'm going to let this dude play it again, but I've asked that a few times, and this is exactly what they do. You ask a specific question, you ask it directly, and it still gets skipped. I want to know what this dude, my black man, says about that.
Okay, but be careful with people that bring up everything except for what you're actually talking about. You know how you will make a direct point that is very specific in regards to a specific sector of a topic? And a lot of times you will make that point with evidence, and people will talk around everything except for what you're actually talking about is a distraction. It's because a lot of people need to feel right about something because they feel wrong in what you're saying because you're actually making sense. It is a ploy to make you think that you are crazy.
And not just him. We've been on a show where we've done this. We brought up
multiple times.
Yes, so much overwhelming evidence. And I know you might have, and I'm gonna bring this in relationships, your family, your friends, where you've talked about something and you said this is the reason why this happens, and your family and friends just look at you like you're crazy. They talk around it, or they wait until you're gone to say how wrong you were. And oh, I should have said this, I should have said, but none of those things come to mind when they're actually in your presence.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always thereafter. And I'm wondering why. Let's see if this gentleman can help us out.
And that you're not actually seeing all perspectives when that's not always what's happening. A lot of times you are just making a point and you're not talking about what they're talking about because they're not staying on task, because that's their intention. Because a lot of people just need to feel and be told and walk around as if they are right about everything except for what the actual topic is, what the actual problem is, what's actually being put in front of them. Because, oh my God, maybe they don't know everything and they're wrong and they just want control. And they always say, you're not understanding where I'm coming from. We're not talking about that. And they know that. Deflection on purpose, because sometimes it really is a ploy to throw you off and confuse you. And then they'll try to warp your mind and convince you that they're on your side and that you're not hearing them. Oh my God, you're so angry. That's them trying to emotionally label you. Another means of deflection. Some people just like to argue. Those are usually the argumentative antagonists. Dictators and tyrants, as I like to call them.
And the reason I'm playing these beforehand is I want you to hear what these people are saying. And when we bring him aboard, is he saying some of the same exact things? No, I thought that was Georgia coming up.
That's me.
We'll hear one more from a young lady, and then we'll make a choice whether to bring him up and go from there. And we might have to be the doctors today.
Let's talk about deflection.
Mm-hmm.
Deflection is essentially a defense mechanism. If someone is deflecting, they will be redirecting the focus, blame, criticism away from themselves in order to protect their self-image. People often deflect as a way to avoid feelings of guilt or shame, or to avoid accountability. So what does it look like in action? Let's say you're trying to address something with someone who's done something to hurt you, and they come back with, okay, but what about the time you did X? Or, I only did X because you did Y, so really it's your fault. Or, I can't believe you're attacking me like this, you're being so mean. It's really hard to have a conversation with someone who is deflecting, and it's also rarely helpful to call them out on what they're doing. So here are some things you can do instead. Number one, bring the focus back round to you with something like, I'm trying to talk to you about this because it's really important to me that we're on the same page. And number two, after you've said this, it's okay to take a breather and give them time to reflect. Sometimes they'll come around and sometimes they won't, unfortunately, and that's really painful. But equally important to remember that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink.
I know that's right. You can lead a brother to Thailand, but you can't force him to get no Thai massage.
That's a fact.
Well, it looked like Georgia late, so without further ado, let's do an introduction of who we are. This is the Deflecticon. So go ahead and introduce the Deflecticon, and we'll bring him up. And then if we have to bring him,
well, I got a special thing I did for him since he appreciates my AI transform ability here. So I made him a little 10-second intro clip.
Welcome, Richard. Mr. Deflecticon has entered the building. How are you doing today, sir? And your levels are great.
Greetings to the chat and the host of the show.
Yes, sir. And we threw a lot at you while you were there in the back. You know, there's a lot of jabs going on. You had your hands down. You were just getting slapped around, and now we bringing you up so you can defend yourself, as we would say. You've been a star of the show. I would not, a few times. You've been on the show several times, and we've had these questions. Is he still up there?
No, he's here. It's just black screen for some reason.
Because I think he got his shirt off, walking around naked back there.
Don't show that, please.
So, I wish the doctor was here. Hopefully she does come, even if it's a little too late, because we would like to analyze you. We've had several questions with you, and we haven't had the opportunity to really just dig down and say, hey, let's really find out what's going on with Richard. And we would like to have, when the therapist comes in, for her to psychoanalyze you. And I really wanted other people to look at this because we were on a show and we were asking you more direct questions. And we were asking you these direct questions. You avoided, you deflected a lot of times. And so I did a week of research to find out, why is that a position that people take? And as I told you before, what I found out was, and maybe you can tell me I'm wrong, you avoid emotional or charged issues because you feel vulnerable. You use sarcasm, humor, or different things to dodge deeper questions. You often, or maybe 100 or 99% of the time, you answer a question with a question, or you change the subject entirely. So I'm wondering, is this a defense mechanism to avoid uncomfortable truths? Did something happen in your past, or you have past experience where vulnerability led to pain, judgment, or loss of control? Or do you subconsciously believe that certain truths will force you to change? I'm going to start there, and let's go.
If I could get you to enumerate them again, there was one particular point you raised about vulnerability, and I know there's been a lot of discussion, perhaps some even in the chat, about vulnerability. I think that
if you want, I'll go through just one at a time. So let's just
wait. Let me finish my point if I could, because that often happens and it throws me off, and then I wind up talking in circles as y'all spoken on. To the first clip that you played, I hear what the brother's saying, and I almost identify with any of those comments or criticisms or whatever they might be, feminine, a loner. Everything that's been said about me is probably fairly accurate. I would own it. I own it because I've lived long enough to have reinvented myself so many times. I do not come from a privileged background, so I've had to do it on my own. And there's certainly things that I've done that I'm not proud of. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's a man on the planet who hasn't felt that. If not now, then get to where I'm at in the book. Life's a very funny, strange thing. And I've lived this long because I've learned to take the blows. I've often said, even on social media, that I'd rather be an omega man nowadays than an alpha man. What is alpha? What's omega? Think that through.
Beginning and the end.
So I'll park it there. Go ahead.
No, I was answering your question. Alpha at the beginning, omega at the end.
Right. So for me, learning to be vulnerable helped me learn how not to be vulnerable in all of the transitions of my life. It really has. To be gentle when it was necessary, to be kind. I find that very, very effective for my survival. And I don't want to pivot too much because I get accused of that. But Ronan, you and I have talked about the concept of stoicism.
Yeah. I actually have a video talking about that. If you can hold your point. I just loaded.
Completely
I'll
right.
lose
And the
my
dangerous
point
thing
if I
about
do,
overly
Ron,
emotional
I
men is
will.
that they're dangerous.
Just
They're genuinely
bear
dangerous.
with
This is
me.
what's crazy.
I'll park
All
this.
these people who talk about toxic masculinity and how bad it is for men to be traditionally masculine. A traditionally masculine man does things he doesn't feel like doing because it is his duty to do
Felix and I
them. He
talked
charges
about
into
this
the
too.
building because it is his duty.
And
Not
when
because
I
he
go to
feels like
sleep
it,
at night-
because it is his duty. We're now teaching the new generation of men that they don't have duty and they can just act on their feelings and act how they feel and they don't have to act as a man should. Do you know what happens when you get men who just act how they feel? You get school shooters, you get violence, you get rapists. Men who do not control their emotions are dangerous. If you find a man who is stoic, he's not going to hurt people. He's going to sit and think about his actions very carefully, and he's going to be a good man who protects for and provides for his family. You find a man who just acts out on impulse and does whatever he feels like, you're going to find a dangerous man. Sitting here telling men to cry more and act with their feelings, and it's okay to feel this way, that way, etc., and have no self-control. That is why we have the problems we have in the world. Absolutely not wrong. So when they talk about toxic masculinity, they have it completely inversed on its head, completely not wrong. We need to be teaching stoicism. We need to be teaching young men to understand that the world is very, very difficult. It's hard to be a man. You're going to feel bad sometimes. You just suck it up and perform anyway. Not to sit there and cry your eyes out or blame other people.
Tough
or
being a
cop
woman
out.
too in modern society.
It's certainly tough being a woman, but I'm not a woman, so why would I speak on issues I do not understand? I'm a man.
You can feel an empathy for women.
I feel empathy.
There you go.
So, Richard, my question along with that is celibacy removes intimacy, which requires vulnerability. And that seems to be your biggest fear. So is it that you fear being vulnerable? Is that why you've chosen celibacy?
I've learned how not to be vulnerable. For a point of clarity for you, brothers, there was a poem we used to have to recite as kids. I want to say Phyllis Wheatley, but I could be misquoting. The poem is, "My life has not been a crystal staircase." And you made a good point earlier, Phyllis, about the fact that we do have generational harm. I mean, my parents went through some stuff. They weren't sharecroppers, Ronan, but they were raised by sharecroppers. So I definitely bear some of those scars. And I thought I'd been honest about that before. And, I was listening to an incredible interview with Diary of a CEO. He interviewed Michelle Obama.
Oh, worst interview. Oh, bad.
And I know you might have some issues about her, but I encourage you to watch that interview.
I watched it, Richard. And before I do want to ask you
the stuff I watch.
Yeah, I want to know. So here's the thing. I'm going to ask you two questions about that. Because what happened was you've talked about men and dating and just those general things. And we've often said that it is the women. A lot of women make it very difficult for men in dating. And the transition has always been around the women. You say men. In Diary of a CEO, I played some clips of which they said the new dating terms. And they had a man and a woman on there, and both of them pointed at the problem being with women wanting a certain percentage of men, women getting more money, and then the more money they get, the less men are available. They've become more masculine. We have in schools and in society, we've punished the man for actually being a man. And we call any male behavior, fighting, acting out, aggression, we call that toxic masculinity. And so what we are telling men in this Diary of a CEO, we're telling boys, you can't be too masculine, yet we're going to punish you for being too feminine. And so they don't know where to go. I recite all of that to say you listen to Diary of a CEO. I bring up those exact clips from a Diary of a CEO. When I bring you the facts, you actually say those facts are wrong. And so what we were just stating in this was when you tell someone, here's the facts, and you say, oh, no, I can't believe those facts. Why is that? And I'm quoting the exact person that you watch and you admire.
Ronan, did you want to add to that?
Oh no, I'm going to wait for your response.
Damn, you guys are right. I do answer questions with questions. Here's my answer. I think you're a little all over the place, or maybe my mind is, because you mentioned Diary of a CEO. He's had on lots of great guests. I cited the last show I saw, which was with Michelle Obama. The reason I started coming up on these panels, and I found you guys through the other channel, is because I just am striving to understand, when did it all go so wrong? Because I didn't grow up like that. You know, parents, all that stuff aside, you know, good folks. But when did men start blaming women? Because when I came up, men took all accountability. If their woman was acting up, they'd fix it. If their woman was broke, they would carry her a few rounds. If a woman was sick, they'd be by her side. In holy matrimony or not, that's been my experience. From my mother, my brother's been married almost as long as Fearless has been here.
Let him
Pause
talk.
right there.
Let him talk, Ronan, because I
No,
think we interrupt a lot.
I need to pause that thought. When you're saying that, the man taking responsibility for his woman, the key word in that is his woman, not all women. What you've allowed women to say is that it's all black men's fault for the actions of all black men. Black men's fault for all the
Never
actions.
said that, Ronan.
You
I never said
have said that. And the reason I'm saying that that's absolutely false is a woman should go from the covering of her father's house to her husband. But now what they talk about is everybody needs to have a bad girl summer. They need to go out and spread their wings and do all kind of defile shit to their bodies and basically break what should be traditional roles from going from their father's covering to their husband's covering. But yet and still, they still want the men to be traditional and the values that they bring to them. That can't be true in the same. You can't put those two factors in the same thing and say everything's exactly the same from when you grew up to what's going on right now in this time, in this age, because the women do not act exactly the same as the time when you grew up. So no, it's not the same factors, because the factors of when you were growing up in that example that you gave are not the same factors of the actions in the way women are raised now. But
so I know that one of your points that you made in your questions about me was the issue of accountability. So I'm going to explain what accountability means to me. If I could just have let me just spin the block real quick. Accountability is fundamentally that the black man, you're right about your points though, Ronan, I totally concur. The black man around the time that crack hit the streets of America, there came this period of time when our young brothers saw that as the only way out, and it never really was. There were so many ways out. So at some point, those young black men who later became young black men who became adults and whether in prison or dead, left those black women to the wolves. This has always been my contention. This is why I blame us, because maybe you didn't do it and Fearless didn't do it and the illustrious panel didn't do that. But the fact of the matter is, and I didn't do it, but the fact of the matter is, we've got to acknowledge, you talk about accountability, we've got to acknowledge the fact that in our community, ADOS, FBA, we screwed up somewhere. Our men, it started with our men. Our women weren't selling drugs. They weren't shaking their asses like that back in the day when we were men.
But all right, put it in park for a second. If the analogy that you're making is, that would be great if it was 90% of the men selling crack. The people that were selling crack were such a small fraction of the society. That would be like it. That would be like me saying the people.
Fearless, it wasn't just the sellers, it was the impact on black communities that were prosperous black communities. I remember going to Atlanta back in the late 80s. It was black Mecca. Go to Atlanta now.
No, but I'm saying that would be like me saying
the dealers.
So
all of the families.
The meth people that sell in the trailer parks messed up the whole white community. That didn't happen. And yes, crack affected people, but that was a small selection of folks. And let's just take what you're saying, how that changed. I did listen to Michelle Obama. And you know what was sad? What I heard about that? She married a man who would eventually become the most powerful man in the United States. And you know what she said? Part of me just didn't want him to become president because I lost myself. I hated the fact that I had to stay home with my children and breastfeed while he went out and had his life. It was almost like she was plotting against him. I mean, so when you say that she had nothing to do with crack, nothing to do with that. So the modern woman is never like, I'm going to help my man get to a certain place. It is a jealousy. It's like she didn't take accountability. She made choices that they both made choices and made sacrifices, but all she could talk about was her sacrifices. All she could talk about is what she gave up. And she didn't even understand the impact that it would have for the greater good. All she talked about is, yep, I finally became a woman. And as a woman, I wasn't going to go see Trump. See, when we talk about sometimes you put your feelings aside, that's what you do. She had nothing to do with crack. That is a modern woman who has jealousy of her husband to see him succeed. And we see this in generations now, where women are scared to see their man succeed. So what do? They compete against their husbands. They compete against their boyfriends. That is what I seen when I went there. Now, she talked about how she grew up and there were roles. Her father worked his butt off for the city, sacrificed everything, walked with a limp, still went to games, still did everything he could to get her through school. And it was still like, that wasn't good enough. You know, my husband became the most powerful man, wrote 2 books, paid through this, and all I could think about was me. That is the woman. That is the problem with the Black community now.
Now,
she didn't think about how she just sent her kids to private school. They had all these choices. None of that mattered. It was, I lost myself, and I'm taking power from myself.
Let me add to what you're saying based on statistics and based on what I've done with ChatGPT real quick on the 80s, males selling versus not selling drugs in the 1980s. The male population, Black male population from 15 to 54 was 8 million. Estimated street level drug sellers were 80,000 to 240,000, roughly 1 to 3%. So the ratio to sellers to non-sellers is 1 to every 99. So your excuse of saying Black men deserted Black women when there was 1 out of every 100 Black men that might have been some level of a street selling hustler does not compute.
Can I address that?
Yeah.
You guys are real good with stats. So stick this in your AI. Who were the most devastated? What race of people was the most devastated by the crack era? Stick that in your AI. Go ahead. I mean,
that would be Black people because but here's the thing.
That's a real question. That's a real question.
A real question. Hold up. That's a real question, but I just basically annihilated your theory.
You missed that grenade didn't go off because here's what I said. Wait, but Ronan, can I clarify this? Here's what I said. It wasn't just the dealers. It was the impact on the community, all the lives that were destroyed. We don't know that many powerful Black drug dealers unless you watch Al Prophet's channel. And all of them lost everything, went to jail or dead. They left their families behind. This is when that turn of life started to happen. And this is something I've been examining. Like, when did it all go wrong? How and where did the Black man start leaving his family, either through death, prison, or abandonment? Those are 3 things Black men seem to have the hardest time being accountable for. And I'm starting to sound like JFK Jr. My voice, that is. But that's all I've been arguing here. Now, I want to Eventually, this is y'all show. So I want to get back to some of your accusations that you put on me earlier. I want to address that at some point when y'all ready. But
yeah, the problem is the people that you are referring to. I could understand if you said you have crack parents that raised crack children and they became an issue. But now you have parents who are raising children who still are the issue. If you take someone like Meg Thee Stallion, she went to a good school and still wanted to be a thought. You have people that weren't even part of the drug problem who may have been like Latino who come in and mimic the Black community. That has nothing to do with crack. So you're still talking about a minute factor, and either we have a great influence over the entire world or we don't. Because that one small factor is covering everything. Why is it that, you know, that small factor, how does that small factor, since you talked about Michelle Obama, how does that small factor make Michelle Obama dislike her husband's position?
We read that comment two different ways, and that's a generational difference. And I understand that because my mother sacrificed for my father. And that was always the case. And that was when men stuck by their homes. They might cheat. Men are dogs. Dogs are men. But they definitely was going to take care of wife and home from my generation moving backwards. And I know some people from my generation who were raised in a two-parent home, many times from a divorced two-parent home, I should say. But I get it. You know, this is a problem that a lot of people have. But if I could just finish my thought, man, that's just what happened. I appreciate you, brothers, man, so much for even hosting me today. It really is. And
just to let you know, the therapist said her apologies. She just finished up and doesn't think she has the bandwidth. She is tapped out. So we may have to have you back. I'm too much. I'm too much for her. And she's younger than me. And no one here or anywhere, and here's my narcissism, I'll own that was spoken. Narcissus was a Greek myth, I think, or Roman myth, Greek, I think, who fell in love with his vision in the mirror. It took me a long time to do that because my life ain't been no crystal staircase. Yeah, I got issues. I'm Black, for real. I'm from lower middle class Black America, not low class, but my parents were good, upright, hardworking folk, and their parents were too. So it looked different to me, and it's been my quest. I'll repeat this question in hopes to get an answer either in the chat or somewhere else in life. Where did Black men start accusing Black women of the failure, the overall failure of our community? When did that happen? 70s and 80s, I would say.
Okay, and I'm talking about us. Jews sold drugs, Italians sold drugs, Irish sold drugs. But look at the transition of their children and children's children compared to ours.
Because the Jews, the Irish women never said, I don't need my man. Black women said, I don't need my man. That's the difference.
Touche, my brother. I argued that point with Black women and told them, when you say that, it tells me that you've lost your nature. And we live in an unnatural time. It's really strange out there. I am not disconnected from the stuff that I see on YouTube about relationships. But I think what's supremely more feminine is when a man blames a woman for what's wrong with the woman, number one, or when a man blames a woman for what's wrong with his children. When a man blames a woman with what's wrong with his house, community. That's the epitome of feminism in men to me today. That's all I'm saying. I'll park it there.
And just so you know, I'm getting a text from Georgia. She says, I am listening. I am part of a crisis response team that got called. Please, and she emphasized please, let Richard know he is definitely not too much for me. And she is taking away on this subject, where she said, I got something for you when I come back.
Yeah, and let me respond first.
The bear, Joe.
You brought up the fact that it's a man's fault for the way. Just like a woman can't raise a man, while he can instill certain things in a woman, she still needs to be around another woman.
Yes.
Okay. So there's equal share in the responsibility of raising children. This is why the nuclear family is so much stronger, even though there are statistics out there that say that a child with just a male in the home turns out better than just with a single mother. So even with us being by ourselves, we still have the ability to raise a better, productive child into the community without the mother being around, even though we encourage women to be around in our lives. So to your point of, whose responsibility is it to raise a woman's charge is to raise the children if they focus on what they were originally charged to do. They weren't charged to go out here and make the money. They weren't charged to go out here and be providers. Their charge is to care for the home. Their charge is to care and instill the morals and ethics of the parents that are raising them, their values. So when you talk about values and what women are lacking, or even little boys are lacking, and you're talking about single mothers, whose charge is it to instill the morals and ethics and the beliefs of what that family believes in? It is the parents. Who has custody? Who has physical custody of the parent? You got weekend dads, and you can instill so many things on a weekend. But then if you understand kids understand when they leave one person's home, the rules change back to mama's house. And when daddy gets them for that weekend, they might straighten up and fly for a couple of days straight. But ultimately, they know they're going back to the mom's house. So both parents are instilling the same morals and ethics and values in that child. There's a breakdown. And we talk about it all the time where kids will play both parents against each other. Daddy says no, they'll go to mom.
Can I speak to that?
No, they'll go to daddy.
Can I address that?
Go ahead. It was your point.
All children who enter, life are raised primarily by the mother for at least the first 5 to 6 years, I would estimate. These are facts.
No, where do you get those facts, and where did that come about?
Okay, maybe not facts.
What happens is, and that is something that we have talked about extensively, is what is called the tender age doctrine. And the tender age doctrine is one of the reasons men don't get custody. It is because there is a belief system that children need to be with their mothers in the first years of their life. It's just basically a stereotype. It's just saying men don't have the capability of being emotional to their children.
Oops. Entirely. Did you say emotional? Wait, Fearless, did you say the word emotional? I'm getting lambasted.
No, you can
for being emotional.
You can
but
still
let me if I could say this next point. So it was a two-piece. Mm-hmm. One is, it is better for a woman to raise a baby. Let's just see if we can find an accord on that. And number two is that, people miss the mark, it seems nowadays. I get it because it's a new age, on the fact that the term hunter-gatherer, hunter, man, gatherer, woman, seem to dismiss the fact that gathering is work as well. I saw a video the other day that I was watching, and I said to myself, wow, these and this is my point when I joke with you guys and call you knuckle draggers, and I'll do that with anybody who says that if God made anything better than a woman, he kept it to himself. My favorite joint. And I know you got questions, and some of the stuff that was said I want to address already. But listen, man, women have worked since a man found a woman. Eve picked the apple, didn't she? Eve picked the apple.
You there with that.
All right. Number two, throughout the history of mankind, we have had hunter-gatherer families and tribes, then nations. Men are the hunters, women are the gatherers, so they've always worked. My mom worked, and though my father paid all the bills, she still had a little job that she did 5 days a week.
That is their charge. You don't give them a congratulations for something they were charged to do.
So why do you want congratulations because of what you do?
Let me finish my point.
Why do you want congratulations for what you do?
If a woman was charged to be a man's helpmate, not their boss, not their overseer, not the boss bee, and they're supposed to be the subhuman to them, a woman was always charged to being the helpmate, to add and assist to a man. So yes, if there's hunter-gatherers, however you want to put it, if you believe in caveman days, but I don't, okay? But I do understand they were tilling the farm, and while the man was with the oxen or whatever tilling the land, the woman was following behind, dropping the seeds and watering. What is the problem
about the black women who tilled the soil of the South
people
right beside your husband?
I don't care about
they work
race. Overall, that is the grand design of why a woman was put on this earth. Besides to be the carrier of the seed that we implant, that we decide what race or what that child is going to be. A woman doesn't. She's the seed carrier. The woman can't have a baby without a sperm. The sperm decides between an X and a Y chromosome what sex that baby is going to be. The woman don't get to decide that. The grand design is the woman always is the second person to the man. Now, they've tried to circumvent that with feminism and all these other stories and laws and everything else. But at the end of the day, me and my mother was just sitting here, 81-year-old mother, sitting here watching a situation where there was a international disaster. And at the end of the day, every time a man tried to turn around and help a woman, she wound up getting that man and other men killed. This is such a true to life. A woman cannot do anything on her own without society and the laws surrounding it to support that woman. A woman was out there on her own. She could not do it.
I would like to.
So many women during the pandemic found that very fact out.
I would like to just, if I could explain, when during World War II, Vietnam, hell, all the wars, men went to war. Many decades, perhaps centuries later, women were allowed to actually be, boots on the ground, gun in hand. But women stayed home with kids, husband overseas, money coming home to pay for that, of course.
But they also worked in warehouses. They worked in the factories to build.
Well, they held it down, didn't they? They held it down. But the men were men.
That is a
interrupting, Rona. We keep interrupting, and it messes us up.
It's a helpmate. You're retracting everything I just said. All you're doing is reaffirming everything I said. Discredit it. Don't reaffirm it. Discredit it. That's the way you break an argument. You are reaffirming that a woman will support, even in the background, with going into the machinery and going into supporting the war effort by going into the factories and helping build the machines that men were using on the front lines. That is still a support mechanism to what they were here for.
I affirm and agree. I think we're just speaking different languages, and certainly from a different era. I know you're only 10 years younger than me, but that means I was 10 when you were a baby. So, when you were 10, I was 20. Now we're the same age group. please forgive if I could finish so I don't talk in circles. I get it, but you're speaking from an earlier page in the book, and that is when you talk about the fact that all of my life, all the men I've ever seen with a wife, with a woman, they were the men in the family. And they didn't blame their wives or their girlfriends for the fact that their lives are messed up. You know, we had this conversation a couple of days ago about, and I said, hey, child support, fellas, what's wrong with you? You make a baby, pay your child support. And Ronan, I know that you have been in two, holy matrimonial situations. You have way more experience than I do when it comes to that. But men just stopped being men. And I believe it dates back to the mid 80s when men's rap musicians, or whatever you want to call them, artists, started doing rap videos, bringing women in to shake their ass. And yeah, women are going to sign up for that bag. And now you have baddies. But when you take the men off the street, not just the dealers, but through murder or cripple them, that happened in our community in such alarming numbers. Here it is, just basically 30, 35 years later, the life of a young man, like a young man, 35 years old, that's a young life. But look at what happened to our community. And no one will be able to convince me that that whole era destroyed the Black family, not just the dealers, but all of the families that got destroyed. And that's when we started abandoning our sisters.
A question, Richard, let me get down to the root of it. Is it the removal of the men that you're saying brought down the community?
That's always been a battle tactic to keep us down.
So let's go to World War II. Let's go to Vietnam,
stuff like that.
Let's go to World War I, World War II, the Civil War. In every war, men were removed from his family to go fight a war. Why didn't that happen in the Vietnam War? When the men were removed and drafted, you didn't see that. You keep saying that we were incarcerated. I would say incarceration may have been better than the going to war, because incarceration means you had a father who was selling crack and they took him out of the home. So you took the worst element out of the community. That should have been a blessing, because if you took a man and took him to war, he was still out of the family, and you didn't see someone saying, well, man, we're going astray when my father was killed in battle. So your argument, if you use the same thing, because you said a man being removed from the home, if you were removed from the home because of war, circumstances still happen. And now you're not taking an angel out of the home. You're not taking, an upstanding citizen who was paying the taxes. You're taking someone who stood on the street corner, who was involved in violent activities, who that child looked up to, out of the home. So he does not have that role model anymore. How did that affect someone if you're removing the bad element from the home?
That's a good question.
Because that the Mohan report from 1965 talks about that very same thing that we're talking about right now. So if you guys want to Google that and look it up, it hits home on a lot of points that unfortunately Richard is not aware of. But those are the same points that I had just brought up.
How old were you in 1965?
I was not even born in 1967 there, sir.
Say less. Talk smack to me like that. I was a sentient being in 1965. I was a sentient.
I'll just give a synopsis of what the gentleman said. Moynihan argued that the rise in Black single mother families was caused.
There are some comments that have been made about me earlier in this show. I want to address them in brief. Not now, when you guys are ready. I'd like it on the wrap out. We've only been up here an hour. On the wrap out, I'd like to address.
Yes, no problem. So he did a report, and he said he argued that the rise of single Black single mothers families was caused not by lack of jobs, but by a destructive vein in ghetto culture, in which could be traced to slavery times and continued discrimination in American South and Jim Crow. So that was just a part of what he concluded, that high rate of families headed by single mothers would greatly hinder progress of blacks toward economic and political equality, which is kind of what we've stated. But I don't want to get off, because this is really about the deflection. And this is what I think we do, Ronan. We bombard Richard with 10,000 questions and he never gets a chance to answer one. And so
You're a two-head dragon.
Yeah, so he gets to the one that he feels more comfortable with answering. And
the last one I can remember. You guys are.
So my question, which was the last one, Richard, was war, things like that, men out of the home.
I knew y'all were going to turn me over.
No, if you're talking about the crack epidemic, that took the most heinous men out of the home. So why do you blame that era for the downfall of the black community when you were taking the worst element out of the home?
I mentioned this on a previous panel many weeks ago, the concept of per capita, which I don't think you guys calculate into your, you don't put the per capita thing in there. And we're only 35 million of us out here. So that type of damage is exponential in our community. And it has been. And we know this. Every one of you, if you were a player back in the 80s, you would come across a cute little, pretty young thing in the club, and she'd be dating a dope dealer who was in jail. And she might want to, part from that lifestyle. I see that deflect kind of thing. That's funny. But my point is this, man. I don't understand how it got to the point where black men blame black women for the plight of the black community.
I don't think you answered my question, so I'll go back to that same question again.
All right, let's go.
He didn't.
The question was,
I forgot.
You kept saying that the reason behind the fall of the black community is because black men were leaving their houses. And that when you say through, I guess, the arrest and men being in jail during the crack era. And I stated that men have always left the house, whether it be through war, whether it be through in the South, they go up north to find jobs to send money back. And during the crack era, you actually had the worst element leaving the household. So that should have been a positive. So my question still comes down to, why can that be a factor in the downfall of the black community when that has always happened? Men leaving the house for betterment, or in the crack case, the worst element leaving the house. If you have the worst thing leaving you, why does that cause an issue to the family? And just to summarize it, I'll say this. If a man is abusive to his wife, and he is physically abusive, and you get rid of that man, wouldn't that start the healing process where that child no longer has to be around that abusive type relationship? Yeah, we do need Georgia. She'll be up next time. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, Richard.
Okay. So I think what confused me with that question, which you said the worst, I would not contend, I would agree with you that I consider black drug dealers the scourge of the black community because it devastated our community. But as those individuals, we're not talking about necessarily dudes who abuse their wives or baby mamas. We're not talking about dudes who abuse their kids. We're talking about dudes who just went out to hustle to take care of those people. And there are I would say there's a high percentage of young black men who got caught up in the drug game who fit in that category. And they did see that as the only way out. But the juice wasn't worth the squeeze when they got taken from that home. That just because they sold drugs, and again, scourge of the black community, but their intentions were to provide when they had a lack of education. I've heard the stories, I watched the stuff, but still,
see, Richard,
that men have left the home is a traditional aspect of the hunter. You get more direct to that question, that women hold down the home, the gatherer, be it in the field, in the farm, or in the kitchen, the gatherer. That's that's baked into our DNA instinctively. I think what you see with the sisters is a knee-jerk reaction to what the trauma that they've been through in broken homes. And again, my life ain't been no crystal staircase, but my parents were together until the day they died. So I don't know that story, but I do. I know enough people. A home is what a man's supposed to do. You ain't supposed to sit around the house, lay around on the couch, or sit up under your woman. So leaving the home is not the aspect of it.
Richard, can you look up at the screen while you talk so you can see data that's pouring across the screen that basically describes everything you're talking about? Can you see that census report from 1980s? Breakdown of the population, 12% Black American, and so on. You see that, right? 78% white. By ratio, drug users, 13%, which is proportional to the population. 72% to 74% of whites. Drug arrests up to the 88s. 37% Black, 59% white. Now, once they got into 3-strike rules and everything else, federal drug inmates went up. It shot up to 62% for Blacks. Look at the disparity. How can 59% be arrested for drugs, but only 27 go to Fed pen? Don't you see there's a little unfairness going on in the court system?
Well,
but still the higher users are white, where you said they were Black. You were sitting there putting out a stereotype that is not true, based on statistics, based on population. How can we overwhelm white people when we have always been the minority?
I think we still getting away from. We still letting him deflect, because this is supposed to be about why he deflects. And what we've done again is we allow him to do that. And so, as I said, part of the talking points is deflection often answers a question with another question or changes the subject entirely. So my question is to you, Richard, is this a self-defense mechanism to avoid uncomfortable or emotional truths?
Thank you for the $5 super sticker, D Ward. Appreciate you.
Can I first give a shout out to D Ward? Thanks for the support, my brother. Thanks for hanging in here with me. It is. Fearless, your research ethic is just incredible. You guys are an incredible team. You really are. It is.
So what happened in your childhood or in your life that you are running away from uncomfortable emotions or truths?
The generational pain that my mother and father wore as something that was sewed into their chest. That generational pain. Now, they were very lovely, loving, supportive. I had a mini bike, a drum set, a 10-speed, you name it. Out there in Philly. That's how I was raised. We even used to live in North Philly, not far from where Gilly and Wallow grew up, when it was a nice neighborhood, when they would cut off the street and have a block party, paint the curb, turn on the fire hydrants. That was my childhood. But when you have parents who are straight off the Jim Crow South, they weren't, sharecroppers. My parents grew up under sharecroppers. That my parents rode in the back of the bus all the stuff all the nastiness that happened that they swallowed. They wouldn't talk about it. And part of me, when I come up and talk on these panels, is like, and I mentioned earlier, when men were men, I couldn't get a spit of detail out of my daddy about how hard it was. He wasn't trying to share that with me in words, but his actions, his work ethic, his ability to buy my mother a house, fully furnish it, carpet, custom drapes, all the nice stuff, the big long stereo.
Rich, I'm gonna stop you for a second.
The Friday and Saturday night parties. But let me just finish my point.
You talked about Jim Crow. You talked about your daddy. You talked about your mama. I never asked a question about them. My question was about you, because I don't care what your mama and daddy did. Hold up. You a 60-something-year-old man. I don't care what your mama and daddy did. At some point, you had to reflect instead of deflect to find out why you behave the way you behave, not what your mama did. Because so my question goes back to is, what are you avoiding? What uncomfortable truth or emotional damage has happened that you avoid that? Because Jim Crow didn't happen to you.
Wow. I think I'll give you credit for the fact that it probably didn't happen to you. Probably didn't happen to Ronan and maybe a lot of the people on the panel. But allow me to deflect about deflection. You don't got to tell everybody everything. Everybody don't got to know all your truths. Everybody don't got to know everything about you. What I've learned, and you mentioned this earlier about compartmentalization, is how much to give to who and in what measure. That's what I've learned. So I'm on a journey of solitude because what I've got left, I haven't measured, meaning that I know what's left. I have a sense of what's coming, right? Not to sound nihilistic, but I know what's next. So what measure of myself do I have left after having, a very public life? I was in sales. I had an internet radio broadcast thing in LA, blah, 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 blah. But what I've got left and my journey here, my sojourn here, was to take account of what was left, decide how much of it I wanted to share, and I do in measure. I socialize, but only when I want to. My family from the West call me all the time. So my deflection is a factor of deciding how much of what I want to share with someone, because I'm on the clock. So I'm only going to give you or answer for you, maybe try to explain what it's like as you age out in life. Now, that might be deflective. I was going to ask you the root word of reflect, deflect, inflect, flect. Is vision. It's a sight line. So when deflecting, it's kind of the part of the art of war, the art of debate. So if I'm the great deflector, I'll own that. If it's part of narcissism, I'll own that. Is it part of feminism? I'll own that.
I think it's a part of pain, to be honest.
If it's a part of pain, I'll own that.
I say that. But what happens is you come up to the panel and you say it like there's truth. And I'm asking because I want to know where this is coming from. And I think it's coming from a place of pain. And I'll ask this question. Yeah, so I'll ask this question again.
Have you never been in pain?
Yes. But what happens?
Have you never been in pain,
This
Ronan?
is what you do. And I'm just analyzing you.
Do you think there's not pain coming?
No.
And
What you do is,
and how do you prepare for pain? Because the entire insurance industry is based on preparing for pain and loss. Let's keep it real, fellas.
Let me see if I can
There will
get
be pain.
Let me say,
Joy in pain is like sunshine and rain, as quoted by the great Frankie Beverly. I'll put it in part.
let me see if I can get this quote. Let me see. When you say that, when you're preparing for something, this is the quote from William Shakespeare and Julius Caesar. Cowards die many times before their deaths. A valiant never tastes the death, but only once. What I heard you say was cowardice, because what you're preparing for is pain that may or may not come. You're superficial because you are afraid of what someone may say or might happen. And I think we go back to the question that I was going to ask was, when you deflect, what is it that you're trying to avoid? Is it some pain? Because what you do when you talk is you're talking on a very superficial level. You can have a lot of friends around, but all of those friends that you have are very superficial. It's like, I'm going to let you know, we're going to talk, but you can't really know anything about me. And the reason I asked about celibacy is because celibacy, when you have to be intimate with someone, it's vulnerable. And the reason you don't want to be intimate, in my opinion, is because it provides a section of vulnerability. So what about you that makes you afraid of that vulnerability?
That's a very, very good question, my brother. Life.
Expand.
Well, I've been here all this time. I've been through more ups than downs. But life is...
That's true. Then you shouldn't be fearful of anything if you've had more ups than downs.
Correct.
You should be inverted. It should be more downs than ups if you're fearful of something.
And what is the worst? The other question I had was, and it's along those lines, what is the worst thing that could happen if you face the truth head on? If you were vulnerable, what is the worst that could happen? It's not like you are 20 years old and now your reputation gets ruined. You're at the end of your life. You're usually at the point of your life when you say, I don't care. That's what usually people at your age are saying, where they have nothing to protect. It's like, yeah, I don't care what you think about me. I've already lived. So what is it in celibacy that makes you so afraid of vulnerability? And you keep saying life. Why are you afraid? What are you protecting? What is the worst that could happen if you said your truth?
I don't think I've been unclear about my truth. I've been very vulnerable here.
I beg to differ.
Okay, that's fine. If I could finish my thought. I think a lot of times when I look back on what I've said here, it is as a cautionary tale. Because I speak, as I like to say, from a later page in the book. And at about my age, there's this tipping balance when you start to realize what most folks call mortality. I have to take a sidebar, though. So love you more. Thank you for the questions. And this is my therapy session. I think you missed the memo, sis or homie. This is my therapy session. I'm here to pour my heart out. Here's the
problem with this.
But let me go back to my point, though, please. Let me go back to my point.
You're not being honest with your therapist. So you can't get help from the therapist if
the therapist didn't show up, fellas. Hold on.
I'm just saying in general.
Be more honest.
If you're saying this is your therapy session, you're not being honest with the therapist. Right now, we're the therapist. You're not being honest, not only with the therapist.
No, you're not.
You're not being honest with
your credentials. I'm speaking brother to brother, soul to soul. Real talk. Fellas, you're going to age out.
It's absolutely not real talk right now.
You're going to age. Okay.
That's being said.
You're
right
going
now.
to age out. You'll start realizing it'll first hit you with mortality. realizing that your days are numbered. And then you'll start to realize the other elements. You'll blossom. You'll become more wise. Wisdom has a gentle side. Wisdom is, should I punch this guy in the face or back away? Because I know I might hurt him. Wisdom has a gentle side. Gentility comes from all of our gentle nature. Every man and woman has masculine and feminine traits. This is some of the stuff I've been quoting to you guys. And if you're sitting there turning your head, looking like you're confused,
hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
You haven't reached that age.
No, I think he's turning his head because you deflected once again. I don't know what the.
All right.
All right. I'm going to do one question at a time because this makes it easier. Let me start with this.
This can take forever. Go ahead.
Why did you move so far away?
I heard you ask that question, and because I wanted to get away from it all.
Who is all?
America. Everything American.
All right, everything American. You could have went to any place because you always say the black man should be with the black woman. Why not go to a country that is melanated with black people? Because there are countries that still you could have gone to that would have had the same economic impact.
So to that question, at 67, your perspective changes, your protocol changes when it comes to looking for love. That's an old Eddie Murphy joke, looking for love. Stoicism kind of requires that there's an element in you that you have to take time away. You know, there's a movie out, and I hope you guys don't get mad at me for mentioning Leave the World Behind. This was that journey for me. This was that sojourn. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm going somewhere where I can meet a girl or where it's just cheaper or, you know, it's beautiful beaches. I used to live in Los Angeles for 5 years. I've said this to you a gazillion times. There are Thai women. There are hookahs in LA all over the place. It's more expensive, but I could have paid for that there. So me coming here was me wanting to truly find myself by myself without, as you guys mentioned earlier, saying who I was, what I was, who I am, what I am. Just like me alone. Lonely.
How's that going?
At this age, incredible. Incredible.
I'm going to play this for you since you say that.
Well, can I, before you play that, may I give that some clarity to Ronan's question? I'm untethered. I'm unburdened. You know, I am free to do whatever I want to do. Ronan, you're about to experience that. You're going to a tropical place. You have connections there. I have connections here. That's how I've been here this long. I got all kinds of connections. The fact that for money and not a lot, I can go down the block and have a lady come and spend time with me. I'm saving that money for an older woman who, when I get about to the point where I can't really get up and clean my house or cook for myself.
I'm going to stop you right there. The difference between me and you is I've already done it here. I'm already at peace. I've already done everything you're saying you're doing overseas. I've done it here. This is just something I wanted to do.
I did it there too, Ronan. I did it there too. America was good to me.
Don't say that I have to begin that journey after I leave the United States. I've already done all that here. I've already done my work. I've dated. You know, I just have chosen that I wanted to travel. And
I apologize, brother. I misspoke.
My family and everything else around, you know, what I was doing here in the States. And it's time for me to go ahead and take a couple years and move around the planet however I choose to. But it's nothing I needed to do outside the United States to make myself better. I've already done that.
Mhm. But I moved so far away to leave the world behind. That was a mantra in my head. Let me leave the world behind, go someplace where I be like a child again. I don't know the language. I don't know my way around, and be reborn again. I've explained that before, but that's how I would answer that question. To be reborn again.
But
Next
if
question.
you're born again, doesn't that mean you're relearning certain things and you're open for broader horizons? You're trying to expand your mind, meaning you're getting out doing things. You're not just sitting in a hotel room or a Airbnb or whatever, being an incel. If you're reborn, you want to re-experience, right? You want to grow. You want to grow and relearn again. So if you're reborn,
to answer that question, Ronan, I have copious videos and pictures to prove. The avatar that I have up is me on John Beach. That's not me in LA. That was just, maybe a year ago, maybe 6 months. I lost a lot of weight since I've been out here. But I used to ride the bot bus in both directions up and down Beach Road. I've got copious visuals of my experience here. But I didn't come here to be a tourist. I've been to Songkran. I didn't go this year. I went the year before. I celebrated New Year's Day 2024 on John Beach, chilling in the dark of the night. But my point being that I have done that. And so now it's been measured.
I keep saying with whom? Because here's the thing, what I've learned. I've been on many a vacation, and sometimes it is great to be on there, and we enjoy the experience.
Don't go there with me because you said something off camera that I will repeat.
No, I'm saying I've been on vacations by myself. I've been on vacations, and the thing is, it's always great when you can share the experience with someone.
Not always, Fearless, because I know that you're going to split that experience with family and then self.
No, you have a thing that, for instance, if I take my child with me, my experience is different because they're a child, but my experience is with my child. Then no matter what, I can experience it and I can look in their eyes and see their experience from their point of view. And it's always great to come back later and share your experience. You can be at the same place at the same time with the same person and you see things entirely different. Where you're like, oh man, I rode that elephant. Oh, I couldn't get on it. So you're sharing the experience. That's what everyone does.
Can I pose an idea? Yes. And that is this. If you could get a lot of alone time, how much of it would you take? If you could be alone, how you have a family, Ronan's traveling, I'm over here, anybody in the chat. If you could just get away from everything, like and just be you.
Oh, I said it. I said, I need in the summer, I said, I need 2 weeks of 16 hours a day. I did not say a lifetime. I didn't say a month, a year. I said,
you're younger than me, though, Fearless. So that's relative.
No, I said 2 weeks because here's the thing. 2 weeks lets me catch up on what I need to do. It did not disconnect me. It still connects me. That's it. I don't want to. I want to get away to make sure I accomplish something to better off the rest of us. Just like if a man says, hey, I'm going to go off to make a better life for my family. It isn't forever. It's for a short period of time. And then he reunites. It's not a disconnect forever. And what you've done is you've disconnected because it seems as though you're running away from something.
I'm not disconnected. I'm up here with you right now, live and in living color. What are you talking about? This is my choice.
There's a thing where you say, I can be.
Y'all are my brothers. Do you not understand?
Alone,
this is of my day. Come up on your panel and talk my talk and you can cuss me out. Why are you looking at me like that, Ronan? This is important to me because I can do whatever I want to do every day. I don't have to come up here. I could have turned down the offer, Ronan. You know that. I didn't come up here to explain myself.
Sarcasm.
I'm coming up here because I am sarcastic. Yes, everything that you recited. Yes, I'm sarcastic.
Uses humor, sarcasm, intellectualizing to dodge deeper questions.
Yes, I'll be that.
It's not that you be that. That's not
the words of Red Man.
For instance, you go to therapy and you say, "Yeah, I'm narcissistic. I'm a cheat. I'm all of these things." Okay, that's great. The question we would want to know is, okay, why? Because maybe your why helps somebody else out. And what you never do is answer the why. It's easy. Okay. And that's a self-soothing thing to say. Yeah, I cheat. That's what I do. And when someone says, well, why? That's when you start avoiding, because that's when you really have to look yourself in the mirror and start self-analyzing. What you do is just say, yeah, I am that, and let's forget about it. Let's move on.
That's not what I said.
That's kind of what you do.
That's how you interpret it.
Make me interpret it differently.
My life is finally sculpted. My mind is a universe of thoughts and ideas, some of which contradict each other. And I allow that for myself. I'm okay with not being okay. And the thing is, you shoot that dart at me, Fearless, as if you are not like me, and I know you are, and Ronan is, and anybody in the chat has been through those things. Yes, you are.
You know why we're not like you? And I'm going to say it real quick. I'm going to say it real quick.
Real
simple. Hold up. It's going to be real simple. Because you say you have all this wisdom to impart to younger people and mentorship.
None of it makes sense.
Given one straight answer in any panel to impart any kind of wisdom down to the next generation. I've sat on many a panel talking about mentorship. Sat on many a panel say what you should or should not do, ethically, morally, and everything else. So is there a pathway for what I'm saying and what I'm doing? Is it reflective of both? It absolutely is. So if you're saying you have all this wisdom to impart, but yet and still you talk in riddles and you make no sense and you deflect all the time, what are you teaching the younger generation to fix the problems that you want to complain about every time you get on a goddamn panel?
Well, typically I'm the oldest person on the panel, and
that
my
makes
wisdom
no difference whether you older or not. I know a lot of dummies. I know a lot of dumb people that no. Listen, I'm not going to keep on letting you throw the age thing out, because I know a lot of older people that are just plumb dumb. Age does not give you wisdom, sir. Experience does, and learning from life experiences give you wisdom. I know some younger people that act way wiser than a lot of older people.
Have you ever met one who's wiser than you?
Absolutely. I'm not so hypocritical on myself. I know a lot. And I know there's a lot.
This is why I call you a nutcracker.
And hold up, I like to expand on that. I know in your other show they talk about, I brought this up when they said, I wouldn't listen to that person because they're 25 years old and they did this. And I said, well, why not? I said, if they have experiences that I haven't done, and the thing that I brought up was it Logan Paul and Mike Tyson? Two different heirs, they fought, and one made twice as much money because they used a whole different way of trying to market. So that means that the young person didn't have to become a professional, didn't have to do as many things, but made twice as much money doing the same thing as someone who spent their entire life doing it. Why wouldn't I listen to a young person? But on your other show, they criticize for that same thing. And that's where, so age didn't mean anything. We've already admitted that.
I have two flashbangs that I want to throw in the room.
Can
I get them off?
No.
Can I get them off?
No, we need you to stay in the truth mode. I don't need you throwing hypotheticals and all that out. We need.
So I have a personal philosophy that when it comes to life and survival of life, if a young person can teach me something, then I'm academically challenged.
And so
just in life.
Academically
I'm not saying they can't teach me. I'm not saying they can't teach me computers, code, AI, shoot a basketball, any of the sciences of life. But when it comes down to the actual science of survival, I've never met a young person wiser.
When you say survival, give me a definition, because
I'm still here. It's a simple definition. I've said this before. I'm still here.
And you think that's a challenge? Do you think that's a talent or just luck?
Survival
By
skill.
design?
I don't
No.
believe in luck.
No.
Can I address a comment though? That was the other point I wanted to make. Richard, as one of your therapists, you need a real friend and a real hug so that you can unpack that pain. I can get a real hug every day. I promise you. And not just by paying for it. I have friends here who hug me every time they walk through my door. They call me Unc. They're like us.
No, wait, Richard, let me stop you.
A French friend.
And you say they're friends, right? How much personal information?
Now we got to get into the confirmation.
How much personal information have you shared with this friend?
I am the same person here that I am on the streets.
I should hope not. If they're your friend.
Man, hold up. See how I asked this question? See how I asked, and see what you did was,
I would like to consider y'all friends.
No. We are associates.
I mean, be friends. I'm not your friend.
No, we're associates.
Why can't we be friends?
No. The reason we are associates is because there's a few things that make people friends. One, we share a deep connection and deep issues when something happens. And I'll tell you an example. Before the world knew, before anyone knew, I remember I was driving somewhere. Our friend Kanal called us up and he's like, I lost my job. This is the situation I'm in. This is what I'm going through. He didn't tell the world that. That's a friend to say, man, I'm being vulnerable.
Yep.
I'm a 6-figure person. I got a family to support and I don't have a job. And they not only that, they fired me from this job for this reason and this. And we talked. See, that's a friend vulnerability. You have never been vulnerable. You are associates. So when you say that you have your neighbor, when you say you have your neighbor across the hall that you can hug, my still question is he really a friend? If so, what vulnerabilities have you shared with him?
I don't need to go into, vivid detail. There's no vivid. Let me rephrase that. I don't need to go into specific detail, but we broke bread together. I know that if harm befall me, there are Thai people, right outside my door, or to the stores that I go to, who will protect me. There are Australians and Parisians who will come to my aid. That's all the friend I need.
See, I can say a lot of security people do the same thing for me. They know.
Well, that's fine. But hold up. No, they would do it with care and love. But listen, the thing about what I've learned about life is you really are here alone. And you come alone and you will leave alone. And all of the relationships that you make shape that experience. And I get that. But there will, perhaps for some who need that type of companionship. That was a riveting clip, Felix, that you posted about people past 65, and I am.
Can I play that really quickly? So
No, please don't. Please, not just yet. If I could just finish my thought. You guys got ADHD, or maybe it's just me. And that throws me off, and that's why I talk in circles. Please forgive me. But there will come a time. Nursing homes are filled with people who are aging like both of you, like me. I chose to create an amazing journey for myself. I found a place. I was a subscriber to Zoom and Chocolate Man and all that. And I'm like, wow, that looks nice. I live by the beach. I want to be by the beach. That's why I didn't choose Chiang Rai or Chiang Mai or even Bangkok. That'd be like me moving from by the beach in LA to New York City, Manhattan. Who would do that? I traveled. I get it. But when you start to age out, you start to realize how much time I got left, how much of it is for just me, especially for you parents. I've never been a parent. I've been a co-parent, but whatever. Those things seem to not matter as much. And to love you more, I'll accept that too. Yeah, I'm scared. I'm scared for y'all. Maybe I should stop watching American news. You're going to get scared and you have to embrace that fear. I've learned through my years to embrace fear. And that helped me survive.
Survive
Anybody?
what?
Everything to get this far.
I really hope that I don't have to die alone. I don't. I would love to go to my transition.
You want to die with a bunch of other people? Please clarify that.
I would love to go to my transition. Whenever I go to my transition, a few things. I love to be surrounded by my family. The people that love me, I'd love to look at them and say, hey, you know, whatever you got to say to me, I want to make sure that you say it so there are no regrets. I want to be able to tell my daughter, my son, hey, I've done all of this to help you, so that I want to leave a legacy, so that when I do transition, that I'm leaving that world safe. Because I can say, oh, y'all by yourselves, y'all got to do it. No, I want to make sure that I transition and not only help them, but allow me to go in a peaceful way, to know that my life, as lonely as you say it was actually worth something, that I impacted others' lives, that I had an experience that when they look back, my father told me before he passed away this. He said, I'm never going to die. I said, why not? He said, as long as you still talk about me and remember me, and you tell your children and they tell their children, I live on forever. And if you're a person who is in solitude and die by yourself, when you die, no one else talks about you.
That's so wrong. When I die, there are going to be a lot of people talking about me. The impact that I've had on so many lives, you're talking about youth and adults and seniors, the impact that I've had on people's lives, I know I'll be talked about. I'll be missed. But even though if I'm surrounded by people, tell them how much I love them in my final moments, guess what? That does not assuage their pain. It doesn't reduce their pain. If you heard
their pain, you know what? There was I want to see if
I don't even want to go there with you. I'm well studied in the topic of people who die and have these confessions and stuff. I watched a lot of that. I've done a lot of research, read a book about it. So
no, you just said there's no comfort. And
but
I want to read this because I read it and I thought, man, this woman did what she did. This is his name is Derek Harmon, and I don't know if you know him, but he was just drafted to the NFL. I'll quickly read this. Harmon said that after he was drafted, he planned to visit his mother, who said she was on life support in the Detroit suburbs. She had endured several brain surgeries, had a stroke in recent years. Basically, what happened was she held on until he got drafted. She knew that he made it. As soon as he got drafted and she knew he was okay, she could let go. She died. When you say I don't drive alone or I don't do that, I don't know what you're talking about. You just contradicted what you just said. People don't die alone. Yes, she held on because she needed to impact someone else's life. She wanted to make sure that before I can go, that my son is okay, because her legacy meant something to her.
May I address that?
Sure.
Ronan, to your response to love you more, I am lost.
That's clear enough.
You know why? Because I'm a wanderer. And you know, the challenge at my age, especially, they say that you got to learn new stuff when you get my age group. And I always throw the age thing up because, again, I'm always trying to come from a perspective of wisdom. But they say you got keep retraining the brain on new. Wait, can I finish my
That's
thought?
not working. The wisdom thing is not working.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. I'll accept that. But getting lost. I told a friend of mine, a beautiful sister from the States. I said, "Have you ever gotten lost? Do you know how powerful that is to train the brain?" And I know in military training, they take you guys out to the forest and get you lost and make you figure out how to find home or find a home where you are. This is where I'm at. So yes, I'm lost, Ronan, and I like being lost. I like it. It's really taking me to another level. It's going to make me live and probably until my 80s. I've expanded my lifespan by going somewhere and lost because I learned. And the most important part of avoiding Alzheimer's is to train the brain to do something new every day. And I know you guys think I don't, but I do. So this is a part of it for me to come up on this panel, to have a chance to talk. This is like a little bit of a fellowship. If I say weird stuff that if I deflect, I reflect.
Why do you practice celibacy then, sir?
Okay. I wanted to address that question.
Oh, Lord Jesus. Fuck this man.
I'm being totally transparent with you guys tonight. I'm being vulnerable.
No, you're not. You haven't said one vulnerable thing all night long.
Okay, so check it out. When you come to Thailand, and there are other places, sex ain't a thing. To buy sex ain't a thing. So I knew that before I got here. So all I had to do was set aside some money. I needed to do that. Thus far, I haven't needed to. Thus far, I've enjoyed my solitude, my stoicism. I listen to it most nights before I go to sleep. Here it comes. Hold on. Here comes it. So what you guys consider deflection is me trying to explain. So let me make this clear.
No, I'm thinking. This is what happened. I'm forgetting the question. The question was why.
So why did I move here? Why did I move here?
No. I said, why did we done? We went there. I don't even know what the answer to that was.
I didn't answer.
Why are you doing celibacy? That was the question. And what you said was, I can pay for it.
Part of my spiritual beliefs, brothers and sisters, has to do with a deep-rooted belief in celibacy if you're not married. That goes way back in my childhood.
Man, you told us about how many chicks you was hitting when you wasn't married. What are you talking about?
Right. And when I was married, I didn't. And when I got in committed relationships, I didn't. That was just me. We all do that. Don't even throw that out there.
No.
For real. Wait. You're not letting me explain myself.
But you're not explaining anything. That's the point.
Jeez. You never let me get to my point.
Go ahead. Let him talk. Why? The question still is, why are you practicing celibacy?
So I know out here for a fact that the rate of STDs,
there it is,
all of them, is exponential out here. The idea of wearing a condom for a quick relief as an older man is, counterintelligent. It's just, counterintuitive rather to me to pay a stranger to come in my personal space or go to a room with them that I don't occupy on a regular basis. That's counterintuitive.
I've been to Thailand. So
Oh my God.
a few questions. Are all the women workers? Are all the women
No.
are all the women Thai?
No.
Are all the women workers and are all the women Thai?
Correct.
There
Meaning you
are
are a black man from America living in Thailand.
There are African women down on Beach Road every
But
night.
you are there any American women living in Thailand?
There's a whole damn black community in Thailand, especially in
bro.
Are there Australians living there? So what you just
Australian
because
community.
what you keep saying is you got to go pay for it. No, you don't. You can meet a black woman.
I did not
in
say
Thailand.
that. I acknowledge that that's available. I didn't say that.
That still doesn't answer the question. Why are you? When I asked why are you celibate, you said because I don't want an STD and I got to pay for it.
All the way
So
around.
then I said you don't have to pay for it. You can meet a good woman who is not Thai, who lives there just like you, and is not a worker. So that still doesn't explain why you're celibate.
I'm going to answer your direct question.
Oh no, I don't want you to. I don't want you to. Why
I'm
answer
going
my
to
direct
answer your
question?
question directly. Can I answer your question directly?
Let's see if you can.
I don't feel like fucking.
All right, let's go further. As a man, we always have an urge. We have those things to be intimate with women. What has changed in you where you don't want to be intimate with the opposite sex anymore, or have the comfort of the opposite sex? Say you didn't even want to have intercourse. We never hear you even being around a woman intimately without sex.
Because I don't want to.
Okay. Why not?
I said this to somebody the other day, and I'm going to be completely transparent with you.
Really?
I think I said this on your show previously, the last show.
I
don't have the emotional energy.
You did say that before.
I just don't.
And it goes back to what I said. Is it about the vulnerability? You know, in order to have emotional ability means you have to have a vulnerability. Or would you like to define what you mean by
the reason you don't want to be vulnerable is because you've been hurt. And the problem is
we all have. What are you talking about?
Whatever that thing was, do not deflect. Be quiet. The reason you are hurt right now, for whatever that reason is why you're doing everything you're doing right now. You can't tell the truth. You can't mentor. You can't do shit because you are paralyzed by whatever is affecting you right now. You are literally paralyzed in your life. You're not happy. You sit in a home by yourself in a beautiful island, multiple islands around you. You don't have a perfect life. You struggling because you're dealing with some kind of pain and you don't want to address it. That's the truth of it. After all this talking for the last 2 hours.
May I respond in conclusion?
If you're going to be truthful, yes, you can respond. Because I'm tired of all the BS. We brought you on the show to be truthful. Now, if you can't be truthful and you spinning all these yarns, that's the whole point of why we call you Deflecticon. You have not told one truth to mentor not one young man that sat in this room to even at least attempt to listen to a 60-some-year-old man that should have some kind of wisdom in his life of why he's acting the way he's acting. And you have no apparent reasoning whatsoever on why you carry yourself a certain way in your life at 60-something years old. And that's a damn shame.
So how am I carrying myself? What do I look like to you? I really was going to cam up, but my camera's not working. What do I look like to you? What do I look like to you?
You've seen.
That was the question. That was the one question I was going to ask.
You seem like a man that has been defeated in life in some way. You're in pain, and you still have not, even though you've flown all over the world and you wound up in Pattaya of all places, very beautiful island. You have still not dealt with your first initial pain. Yeah. It is still compartmentalized wherever, how buried deep it was. And whatever that situation, you have not dealt with it. Absolutely not.
And I wanted to define it because I wanted to make sure I was on the line. Emotional energy. What is it? A lack of emotional energy, often referred to as emotional exhaustion or emotional burnout, is the state of feeling drained or worn out, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. It is a result of prolonged exposure to emotional strain, leading to feeling overwhelmed, apathy, and a general lack of motivation. And that's what it looks like. You go to a beautiful island. How can you be in a beautiful island and be emotionally drained? This should be your emotional peak,
Energy.
your apex. This should be when everything around you is exciting. Everything is new. The food, the language, the people. This should be your emotional apex. Never emotionally drained. It's like you try to escape something in LA or wherever. You try to escape, and you thought that a new surrounding would change you. And you realize that you're the same person in the same place. It's just a different zip code. And we tell the same guys in the past, your passport broke, because we tell them you just went 3,000 miles to go to Sosua in the hood. You left the hood with a chick with green hair, butterfly eyebrows to go to another country to deal with the same thing. You did the same thing. You are a passport bro that you don't even understand. You left your situation and you thought you left the soil around you and that would change the plant. It didn't. You are the still plant. You just planted yourself somewhere else. You're not a different.
Can I interject really quick?
I need you to start telling some truth. I don't want to hear no soothsayer.
Fearless, that was an incredible observation, because you're right. Wherever you go, there you are. Yes. Right? And being here made me realize that.
Can you come out with something original by what you are thinking and how you are feeling? I don't want to hear other people. I don't want to hear other people. I want to hear about your truth. No, I don't want to hear about all that other stuff. I want to hear about your truth, why you're there, and everything. I don't want to hear what other people say. Wherever you go, there you are, and all that other bullshit. What is Richard's problem, and why is Richard in freaking Thailand in pain and can't and disassociative to a point where he sits in his own fucking apartment as an incel? When you should be a retired older man enjoying the later years of your life out on a beach with a Mai Tai or whatever, and a nice girl on your arm that you can trust. I didn't say you have to be a slut, but you could at least find one reliable woman that you can spend time with. What do you want, to fuck her or not? Just the company.
Ronan, can I
dinner?
Can I address that?
If you're going to tell the truth, yeah.
Here's my truth. I fear for you, my brother.
Don't fear for me. I'll be fine. I fear for you.
I fear for you.
You're going to be a bloated old man dead in a hot ass Thailand fucking apartment by the time they find you, since you want to be alone so much.
Yeah, that's how our figure is going to work out.
That's how it will work out.
Thank you. That confirms everything I believe about my future. But my brother, I fear for you because
look for a future. Hold up. And this is the problem. The mentorship that we deal with and the stuff that we talk about, it's sad for you to give the outlook to younger men that that's what you're looking forward to as an older man. That's your pinnacle of life. That's your satisfaction after 60 some years on this fucking planet. You feel like that's your satisfaction in life. That's all you.
The only way they'll find you is through the stink.
The stink. That's what I figured. Listen, I
you're
think
not being real, you're being fake, and that's why I say you're different.
My overarching message is that don't take yourself so seriously, fellas. Ladies and gentlemen, your legacy is your tombstone. That's all it is.
That is absolutely not true.
And maybe some of this stuff you've done up on YouTube, which is already imprinted into the history of Google. So people will be able to go back. And I'm not trying to sound nihilistic, but the way that I drive this car now that I still have, built in whatever, I'm not even gonna give you my age. The way that I drive this car
right now,
the way that I drive this car now is realizing that
You are a
It's
cautionary
very
tale
valuable.
how not
It's
to
very
live your
valuable.
life as a 60-something-year-old man. You are a cautionary tale as how not to conduct your life to where you feel like you need to be alone in life. You don't have children, grandchildren, no legacy, nothing to look forward to, and you look forward to dying alone in your own apartment and your own fucking filth.
That's a great summary, but you're wrong.
That's exactly the way you're looking forward to life. And you're a bad
No.
example as a whole of a person that men should look up to as an example.
No, Ronan, it is that could happen any way you played your hand. That could happen.
Absolutely not.
So you are saying absolutely not to the fact that could happen to you in
I have
the
legacy.
Philippines.
I have legacy. I have family. I have people that look forward to hearing from me. I have people that will be surrounding me.
So one of the pressing questions I wanted to pose in this last segment, because I know you guys got to go, is why are you leaving? You have all your family there. You're moving to a brand new place that you before. We don't got to go there. And you're going to.
I have told you this. I've done everything in my life I need to do for my family, for myself, for my children. I have always looked forward and have always.
How do you know that?
I've been traveling since I was 3 years old. Okay. I've been traveling since I was 3.
You're an Army brat?
No. My mom always traveled with me. We went to the Bahamas, Puerto Rico, all these things when I was a kid. We flew out to the East Coast right there in Baltimore, Maryland. Wasn't a big deal.
Y'all said some rough shit about me. I'm going to ask you some rough questions. Are you a tether?
No. I'm an FBA. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I don't know these things. You don't know nothing about me either. I'm going to ask you some rough questions. You want to ask me some rough questions? I'm throwing hands. You come at me with hands, I'm throwing hands back. All right. So now, you're not a tether.
You haven't asked me. Wait. You asked me a question. I have answered a question of yours.
Way too light skinned.
It's our show. I've asked you a question. I've answered it. I need you to ask and answer or be serious about answering a fucking question. Now.
And what you don't understand is
I'm going to do this for Love You More because he wants to go to bed. Did you click on the like button? That's a simple enough question.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, yes. And I'm also watching the channel from Fearless's channel, watching your channel, right? And I gave him a thumbs up. I always come up here now when I get Fearless's link because I connect with you through Ronan. And I'm like, where's Fearless's link?
Fearless, so do you have a question that he can ask you? And
open him in another tab and give him some.
Play with you. You're gonna have to ask a question and answer it.
Y'all ain't tired yet?
Question and
I've been whooping y'all ass all night. Y'all ain't tired yet? I've been rope with dope and you cavemen all night. Y'all ain't tired?
Ridiculous. How do you get this age and be so delusional?
No, actually, Richard, you just demonstrate what
what happens with age, Ronan. We're 10 years apart. I would love to see you at 67. I would love to see.
You're going to see me at 80 if you're around, but if you're not around.
Next time, if you want to talk and if the doctor can join us, why don't you do an AI image of you guys at 67? Since you're so, stick that in your.
What does that have to do with it? Sylvester Stallone was making boxing Rocky at 60. What's the dude? Al Pacino was making babies at 80. I don't know what you're saying. You act like your life ended because you became 60. I don't understand.
At 60, I chose to live my life for me for a change. I've tried to express it in different ways. At 60, I decided. At 60, I decided, do I want to fuck or not? Do I want to make friends or not? Do I want to open a business or not? Do I want to just leave the world behind or not? That was the greatest. See, you guys are free, but I'm liberated. And there's a distinct difference. And once you get around a certain part of life, doesn't have to be age, a certain period of clarity in life. You realize that it's just about me. Fearless, it's going to take you some time because you have a baby. Ronan is on his sojourn. He's about to experience this. There is this period in life. I promise you, my brothers and sisters, there is this level of absolute liberty. And that's an experience, especially if you're Black, that you've never really felt.
I had that.
You felt free.
Already.
Well, wait, you felt free, but you ain't going to be liberated for at least 20, 25
Why would I
years.
be liberated? What's your definition of liberation?
I can't explain it.
Well, damn, how are you liberated if you don't know what the hell it is?
It's a feeling.
We asked you what your definition of that was. Your own definition. What is it?
Okay, let me give you some examples.
Oh my God, you can't even answer the question.
I wake up in the morning. I wake up in the morning, as always, very early. There are several birds who help wake me up. This incredible sunrise. I go into those other processes of my morning, and I realize that I can do whatever I want to do today. Whatever I want to do. So here's what our my name.
Here's the thing.
What's the real talk? That shit's hilarious. My name is Richard. It means bounty.
You can do whatever you want, and you don't do anything.
Oh my!
You can do whatever you want, and you don't do anything.
And that's the sweet spot, brother. That is truly the sweet spot of life.
It's non-existent.
You can do anything you want, and doing nothing feels just as good as doing anything.
Oh, you know the reason people work like Warren Buffett and stuff like that is because they have a purpose. I can do that. I wake up every morning about 4:45 and I go to the gym. When I come out, the lights out. I go get me some granola and a few cookies because for whatever reason, I start feeding these rabbits outside. And what's the name? Ronan tell you, they keep running, coming to the door.
But
like,
Fearless,
hey,
that's freedom. But Fearless, that's freedom. Liberty,
anytime I
liberty is another level.
If anytime I wanted to stop, I could stop. I don't want to have a purpose.
Right.
Me stopping would defeat my purpose.
We can sing together. You take the highs, I'll take the low. Hey, listen, brother, that's freedom. That's not liberty.
So
and you haven't experienced it yet.
Just go nowhere. If that's liberty, I don't want liberty. I want to always have a purpose.
Oh, yeah, you're young. You're young.
I said it best. Sitting on the toilet feels just as good.
Hey, Fearless. Hey, Ronan. Hey, Shat. There is a point in life where you really get to be like absolutely liberated from all tethers of life, all responsibility, other than, paying for your day-to-day existence.
All right. Here,
so when you ask me, when people ask me, well, why Pattaya? Well, Chiang Rai and Chiang Mai, I can tell you about burning season and the air pollution. Bangkok's a clusterfuck. If you really want to live in Thailand, if you want to live city, country, city, Pattaya is a really nice place. Jomtien, Pattaya City, is connected to so many beautiful things. And all you got to do is walk past the bars, which is what I did. So that aside, living abroad is so liberating when you can wake up, particularly as a senior. This is the best senior citizen home in the globe. You talk about Africa. Come on now, stop playing.
But here's the thing.
You've been the type.
When you make money, Richard, I'm asking you this because what you're saying makes no sense. Like if
it does, if you let me finish.
The reason people become financially free is to say, you know what? I no longer have to work, and I can actually do
freedom to finance. And that's
And I no listen, but I'm saying they should say at this point, I can actually do what I enjoy. So you could have been in the United States and just woke up and listened to a bird. You
I
would
did that too, but I did that there.
So what is the purpose? Like if I was older and I say I'm liberated, liberation to me means I can do something that I've always wanted to do, but never either had the time, the money, or the circumstances to do. And your thing is, I just walked by a bar. What the fuck? What is it?
I didn't say that. I said that you can ignore the nightlife is my point. When I said walk by the bars, you can ignore the nightlife and go to the beach and, you know, all that stuff. That was my point with that. But
what is the purpose of your liberation?
Richard, by your definition, I've been liberated since 2011. The fuck are you talking about? Oh, yeah. I've worked for myself since 2011.
Yeah, you got kids, though.
My kids were grown by then. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what I'm talking about. With you, you don't tell everybody your truths. I'm here to tell you truths.
I absolutely have. I absolutely have.
Well, let's talk about your 2 divorces.
Because it's not about me. It's about you tonight, remember? That's why you're on the show.
It's Thursday night therapy.
Often answers questions with another question or changes the subject entirely.
Thank you. Still hasn't answered one question the whole night straight.
All right, let's get back to the questions. Let me see if I can dial in. I'm sorry. I'm getting. It's like I'm getting beat up by 2 people, 2 big guys.
What we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up because obviously our thing was we had a few objectives. One, to bring you on and have you here. We also wanted to show.
Kill me was one of those objections.
No, we wanted to show people that sometimes. How did it go? Let me see if I can find the quote. But the quote, I know it goes something like that. It's very difficult to win an argument with an intelligent person, but it's nearly impossible to win an argument with a fool. And we wanted to say, well, it's impossible to win this argument.
I can put some clarity on that for you. They said that the Christ, Jesus, was running from a man in the markets, and they asked the Christ, well, why are you running from him? He said, verily, it is easier to bring a dead man to life than to bring a fool to his senses.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I'm not dumb, guys. I'm not crazy. A little bit. I come up on these panels to stimulate conversations. I've been doing internet radio for a lot of years. I've done AM and FM as well back in my previous life. The reinvention of myself is what helps me to expand my mind to greater scopes. And that loosened up some of my tension about life. So I don't get upset about things that happen. I accept accountability for what I did wrong. I've done that all my life. These are my closing comments. This may be the last time you hear from me. Since Ronan said I bring your ratings down when I'm on the panel. That hurt.
I'm sorry, I told the truth.
Well, yeah. You know,
I also will give you a few minutes if you want now. You said you wanted to address some of the comments. So go ahead and address your comments, and then we can help you close out.
I am a feminist. I think women's rights. If God made anything better than a woman, I've never had it. Not money, not cars, not clothes, not cribs. I stand for women, and I think they've been oppressed long enough.
Yeah, we understand you have a mangina.
I have not. Jeez, this is what happens. I stand with women. They've been oppressed long enough. And to watch.
You stand with women, but you won't sleep with a woman.
I don't need to sleep with them, brother. I've done that. Been there. I've made my mistakes. Stop acting so juvenile. That sex is every sex.
If woman is the best thing that God made, why wouldn't you want them to be your companion? Even if it's not sex. If woman is the best thing since sliced bread.
I call you knuckle draggers because you don't evolve.
Why wouldn't you want, even, let's take
I
sex
call
out.
you knuckle
Let's
draggers
take
because
sex
you
out
don't
of it.
involve.
If women are the best thing over cribs, gold, money, everything, why don't you share your companionship with a woman?
I already asked.
Operative word was share, because I don't want to. I don't feel like sharing anymore. And if that makes me a broken person, a bad person, well, and if that is the conclusion of the show and how you would deduce my life, because you're wrong about all of it, I'm happy. I'm content. I'm at peace. For all of you out there worried about me, don't worry. The fact is, stop taking yourself so seriously. And my last point was, along that other rant, was, brothers, it ain't the sister's fault. It's your woman. No other race of men do or say what black men have done and now are saying about our sisters. Stop it. That's my only point. That's my pushback. Is that, yo, it was better before when we loved our women. Stop abandoning them. Not y'all, not the audience, but we messed up, and there's a path back to that. And that path back is to start embracing black women. And I didn't come here to meet black women, but there are black women here. I know a black woman here. We're very close, not intimately. It's not all about sex, brothers. It's not all about intimacy. You'll get over that as you get older. I promise you. And you'll start seeing people as people, women as people. I'm here. I just see people as people. Sometimes I don't even realize I'm in Thailand because I think I'm still in LA. And yeah, I moved 10,000 miles away. And what it taught me is how big the earth is and how one can reinvent themselves in so many spectacular ways. And I'm real happy with how I reinvented myself. So don't worry about me.
I'll ask this question. I know I shouldn't.
Jeez, there's another question.
How did you reinvent yourself?
As a stoic.
You are not stoic.
I wasn't here tonight. You're right. I told all my business. I should have just turned down the invitation. Thank God Georgia wasn't here. She'd have peeled me like a grape.
So is that the only way you reinvented yourself, is through stoicism?
Through reinventing Ricky. Reinventing Richard. No one depending on me. No one needing me. Even if they don't see me. To find me in the me that I've always been when I'm not on my deathbed. Because that's generally when it happens. When people realize who they really are. I said this on your show before. I'm comfortable with the monsters under my bed. And that's courage to me. I'm real comfortable with myself, how I live, doing what I want to do. It's very liberating to me. I'm no different from anybody else. We all have our pain and our... I get it. But the fact is, you will find a place of solitude where you can find yourself. I pray that you will. And then in that place, you'll realize some purpose in your life. And the purpose is you. The breath of God is your purpose. Keep living. Keep waking up. And hopefully get on a panel and try to impart some wisdom. Than to put it in park. Any other questions?
No, we're fine. I'm not sure what you taught the audience tonight. I'll let them come to their conclusion about what they may have learned about reinventing yourself and dying alone and celibacy. I'll let them come to that conclusion.
Those are the 3 points that you brought up tonight. That's how you want to portray me. I'm a
No,
die
because
alone, I'm celibate, and I'm a vocel, and that's how you want to leave it.
you're a deflector. Um,
Oh wow,
you are scared and a vulnerability.
I'm a
You have
feminist.
things
I'm
inside
vulnerable.
you choose not to discuss because maybe you think of how they're going to be viewed by other people. You don't want anybody to depend on you. You want to die alone. That's what you stated. You moved away to get away.
Is there anything with anything I said?
Is there any what? You broke up.
Anything wrong? Anything wrong with anything I said?
I think that no man is an island. I think that what makes us live longer, want longer, is the love of the people we have around us. I think if everyone thought the way you did, we would never progress, because what makes someone go further is to say, hey, this is what somebody did for me. This is how I'll leave that legacy for them. And actually, brother, you would be the issue in the Black community. The problem is we only think of self and we never think of the next generation. Where if you have someone who is Asian, an Asian grandfather comes and says, I'll sacrifice for my child, in hopes that that child sacrifices for the next generation. And that grandfather sacrifices so much that that next generation doesn't have to sacrifice and has a lot more. But you are the reason, the problems that rely on the Black community. That's why every generation starts from scratch each time. They never leave a legacy. They never leave money. They never leave anything, because they want to die alone and have everything for themselves, instead of thinking, on my deathbed, what have I done to make my child's life easier, to make my wife's life easier, to make my grandchild's life easier? In the Black community, that is the problem. We are generational. Every time that there's a new generation, we start from scratch each time. So that's what I learned, and that's what I do have a problem with. I do have a problem with that. If I get toward the end of my life, the one thing I hope is I don't have any regrets, that I've done so much earlier in my life that I don't have to. But I don't want to live that life in despair. I still want to go out and do maybe not the physical activities that I was able to do at a younger age, but still do the other activities. I never want to have a dull time. I might still be trying to be having an Instagram or something like that of old people travel, to have the exciting part of my life. I don't want to be discovered by the smell of my body. I hope that I don't have.
Any guarantees there, big fella?
There is no guarantees. I mean, I can only put myself in a certain situation and hope that doesn't happen. I mean, I can't predict the day that I die, and I can't predict the way in which I die. I just hope that that is not the way that I die. And if it is, I know that usually that my phone, after about 24 hours of no contact, somebody's calling me. Somebody's wondering where I'm at. Somebody's trying to figure out if he is smelling it, there's at least somebody wondering where I'm at to get me back to that place.
Can I give both a shout out and an apology to Drew? We meet on these YouTube streets, and I apologize that you didn't learn a thing. I'll try to do better next time.
Well, I'll ask you this quick question, then we'll go. What do you think you taught the audience?
I'd like to think, or the intent was to impart the idea that crickets, y'all got crickets now? Really? I like to think that I'm part of the idea that don't take yourself too seriously in life. There's a channel that I watch of a young guy who interviews all of these old folks all over the world, people and broke people as well. And the wisdom that these older folks give will definitely, in most cases, he has over 1 million followers, but on YouTube alone, but go over most people's head, because you're living in the future. I live in the moment. Every 24 hours to me is a lifetime. As I said, when I live my life in measure, that's how I count it now. And I'm not counting down to anything. I'm healthy, vibrant, all that stuff. I could do whatever I want to do. Liberty is different to me, and I'm new at it. And being over here.
I'll rephrase the question because I don't know if you're answering it.
He's not.
What is it that you taught the audience today?
I said from the start that I hope to impart that don't take yourself too seriously.
Okay.
That's what I said.
All right.
Yeah, don't. Because if you keep waking up, you'll get older. It's not nihilistic. It's a beautiful thing. I live a beautiful life. I promise you, nothing's wrong.
Yeah. You know what? I got one thing to say, and then I'm gonna not say.
I had a conversation with a friend one day, and we was talking about family and life, and I asked him, how do you see your kid's future? And he said to me,
was I supposed to say something?
My grandfather walked 10 miles to work every day. My father walked 5. I'm driving a Cadillac. My son is in a Mercedes. Said my grandson will be in a Ferrari. But he said my great-grandson will be walking again. So I asked him, I said, well, why is that? And he said to me, tough times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times. He said to me, many will not understand, but you have to raise warriors. That's what Coach instilled in me, and so many like me. The strength and courage of a warrior.
What are you instilling in men? You know what? And then I'm gonna. I
had a conversation with a friend one day. We was talking about family and life. I asked him.
He's watching a replay.
He said to me,
his videos.
He's watching the replay.
He's replaying.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
What are you instilling in men? What warriors are you raising?
Well, I can say that what could I instill in men?
No. I said, what are you? You're 67. You should already be doing it.
I thought I was.
If Fearless is 50, I'm 57. I'm instilling these things in men. I'm instilling these things in my sons, my grandchildren. You haven't started yet. You're 67.
No, let me clarify that. I've done that. I've been there, done that. In my previous life.
And that stopped why? And why did it stop? You're a man, right?
I thought I made it clear.
Man, right? You're trying to commit and you're trying to fix the black community, right? You're saying black men did so many different things wrong, and why our black community is so effed up right now. Why are you not still instilling in black men being a warrior, being responsible?
Was I supposed to say something? Hold on one second. Just give me a second here, real quick. My father walked 5. I got a little delay on the video y'all played. Right. Forgive me. I have been both a player on the coaching and a coach in life, in the field of life. I've been both a player and a coach. I have definitely contributed to my community. I have done that all my life.
And it stopped why? It stopped why? It stopped why?
You want to direct. Because I decided to just focus on myself. Thought I made that clear. I had given so much that I didn't have much left.
Don't even ooze the type of person that would be helping somebody.
I could prove it.
I'm sorry. I look. I can be selfish.
I can prove it in video.
All I want.
I could prove it on YouTube. No, I could prove it on YouTube.
If I see something that's wrong as a man and as a mentor, I'm going to speak to it. I'm not just going to ignore it because I need to be selfish and worry about myself. It only takes
That's
a
not
couple
what my
seconds.
point was. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm a very generous person. So you misinterpreted my point because you cut me off. I apologize. I try to explain my point instead of getting directly to
because if you were that type of personality, you would still be doing it right now.
No, you wouldn't.
Oh, absolutely.
No, you wouldn't.
You don't pick and choose your personality. You are who you are. You don't turn it off just because you're slowing down in life.
I think the point that I'm making.
If anything, you should have more time to do it, and you should be excelling at doing it better because you've refined it to an nth degree based on the thousands of hours of you doing it. You can't change your nature. Unless you were never that.
You really think it's that simple, Ronan?
It is that absolutely that simple. You are who you are. You ain't changing a damn thing. You work toward refining the best things that are you are. Period. That's what you are in life. You refine those things that make you a better person. You don't forget them just because.
I've learned a few things about being on internet streaming and broadcasting over the years, not just here, but on my own, things that I wanted to say. And one of the mantras that I came up with myself to help guide my steps along that way was there's a time to bite your tongue and there's a time to hold your tongue. I find myself in that moment because I have lots of
that society taught you that. If you see something wrong, there's no sense of you biting your tongue. You speak to it.
You're liberated, my friend. Remember?
Right.
Liberated.
You care. You should be flipping the bird to everybody. I flip the bird to everybody. I don't give a fuck. Even when I was in the military.
You can do what you want to do.
I can do whatever the hell I wanted to do.
That's freedom. That's not liberation. And anybody who is liberated would never flip a bird. What's wrong with y'all? What's wrong with you?
Bruh, you are double talking your ass off right now. I can't even take you serious.
Guys, we had a great time this evening. Next time we bring Richard up, we hope to have
you have Georgia to talk to him because I can't.
Georgia on here, and we'll let her deal with this. This is great. I greatly appreciate the audience for rocking with us this evening. What we found out is about deflection and deflection patterns. So this was a school, a whole class.
One more time, I gotta do it.
You actually want to do this? Y'all actually.
Joseph said he is inclined to agree with many of your points. I would like for him to at least tell us some of the points that he agrees with you with. But this was a class, a school on how to deflect, how not to answer questions, how not to be vulnerable in any of that. This was a master class, is the art of deflection. So whenever you guys never want to ask a point and you want to spend 2 hours talking about something where you never really had to answer the question, this would be, as someone said, you would make a great politician. Because when you ask a politician something, they just don't answer the question. You would make a great politician. I'm not sure if you can, they have kings in Thailand. So I know you can't become a king, but to the U.S., they need a great governor of the great
You say that with the arrogance of a man at your age who thinks he has answers. You don't have any
I'm
answers.
smart enough to know. You see, a smart man is smart
but
enough
you'll
to know
realize later in life that what you thought you know, you don't know. You only know what you don't know until you realize you don't know it. So you speak, both of you, and this is why I came to make a mess of this show. I wish Georgia was here. I'd have peeled her peach.
So basically, you've been disingenuous the whole time and you wasted everybody's time, correct?
No, not at all, Ronan. I wouldn't do that to y'all. I honestly feel honored that you guys had me up. I'm just trying to figure things out along with the discord that we have here. And I'm posing questions as an older man, trying to figure out what changed, what went wrong. Why are black men hating on black women? Why do y'all hate Zed?
Black women didn't come up
All
the
that
whole
kind
time.
of stuff.
We were talking about you. You're not a black woman, are you?
And it's not that we hate this.
Well, it was about me in the beginning, but it just became the show that it is because
It went the direction you drove it. You drove it that direction. We just followed up on those questions.
How can I drive your show? It's your show.
When you make false statements, we have to go back and re-verify. So those documents, all those statistics came out because of a comment you made.
I'm never being disingenuous. I'm never lying. I'm never not speaking my individual truth when I come up here. I would not do that to this show.
And I'll say this in closing. You say we hate the woman with the Z word. It's not that. It's when I listen to her say this. She said this. I don't need a man. I was moving from one place to another, and I didn't need a man. You know, there was a big couch that I had to move, and you know what I did? I got on the internet and looked up handyman and hired a handyman to come put it up. And I thought, do you know what you just said? You just spent all this time saying you didn't need a man, how you and your sister did this, you don't need a man in any way, and you just hired a man because the couch was too heavy. I was like, when we hear that, it makes no sense. And sometimes when you say some things, it's not that we dislike you. It's just like that didn't make any sense. And it's a double talk. And if you're spouting like that female spouts that I hate men are needless and they can't do anything. And then when something came, you paid a man to do it. Well, obviously you needed a man. And so, that's what we were saying to you. And I say it to men here because
it's kind of goofy though, because they could have sent a woman to do it too. You act like women can't do what men can do. I mean, play NFL football, box in a ring with Floyd Mayweather. No, but women can do everything men can do. What y'all can't do is have a baby. You can show make babies and then run away, but you can't have one. All of us come through a woman. I've been wanting to say this on your panel to try to explain myself why I said that God made anything better than a woman. He kept it to himself because we all come through women. Sure, you provide the seed, but you in there for 9 months and you, God willing, got to the other side. And here we are today talking about it. So don't talk to me about women this and women that. And I resist that stuff. And I'm not promoting weak women. And there are weak women. And as a strong man, I'll support that weak woman. Sure, I will. I've done it. Every player has. It ain't tricking if you got it. Stop acting like y'all don't know what this is. You're a man. She's a woman. You're a boy. She's a girl. I could send a Smokey Robinson song over to you to make this make sense. Couple of them. Y'all just seem to be resisting this concept that you didn't come from a woman. You're telling me that's not the universe of life?
We talked about
discount her.
You keep going back, reflecting back to women.
Well, y'all called me feminine, so I got on my feminine side.
Feminine. What do you mean?
I'm a feminist. I didn't call myself. I said I have a feminine side.
Yeah.
Stop spinning that narrative. I have a feminine side. And I'll say this once again.
That would mean you would be feminine. If you had a gay, let me ask you a question. If you had a gay side,
can I put this in right?
Would you be gay?
I don't. No, not at all.
You wouldn't be gay if you had a gay side. Oh, goodness.
No, gay's not.
Don't tell them lady boys that over there, brother. Please.
Gay's not a thing to me. But my battery's finna die.
That's all right. We will wrap up. So if it
wrap it up.
I'll say this once again because I've said it before. I have a particular faith, right? I pray in that faith every morning and throughout the day. That faith has an element called Al-Rahman, the Beneficent, and
Stop bringing that up.
the merciful. So that taught me the mercy of God, that God has mercy. And that is the totality of God likeness. So to denigrate or disrespect that side of oneself is to diminish one's full development. That's all I'm saying. And I'm more fully developed.
Man, he had a whole lot to say. I still don't know what the hell he meant. But guys, we appreciate you joining in.
Good night. Have a nice night.
It was a great evening for you. It's a nice day. You know, it's your Friday, isn't it? Your Friday. Yeah, your Friday.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy your weekend. We will be enjoying, even though we are Americans, we will be enjoying Cinco de Mayo this weekend. Please.
Well, no, you will be. I'll be on a plane.
Please drink responsibly. Shout out to our Southern people who have, we're going to be celebrating with tequila and tacos and any other type of alcohol that our great Mexican friends below the border had invented. As you said, the world is.
I hope you bought it already because, you know, the markets don't need that stuff now.
Yes. And I will find a
and thank you, gents,
to partake.
Thank you,
gentlemen.
you up again. I want to make this clear.
Go ahead.
Gentlemen, for having me up, and I appreciate you. I want to make that clear, and thank you to the chat.
Yes, we enjoy it. The chat. Say bye to Richard. Richard is gone. I'm not going to continue to run this out. We are out of here. Thanks for watching, guys. Please, if you're watching a live stream or a playback, please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you are in tune anytime we go live. Or you can deflect. Watch it a little bit later. It doesn't matter. Good night, good evening, and have a good one. We got an outro.
I know I've been quiet for a minute, I've been grinding, still in it, I've been counting these digits. Excuse me, I know I've been quiet for a minute, but I'm back on my business. If you see me, don't trip, just excuse me. Wrong if I do, wrong if I don't. That's why I do me no matter what, so excuse me. Lie if I do, lie if I don't. The proof is in the story, take a seat and excuse me. The crash came when the cash came. Spend it before you get it like those rookies all on draft day. For the love like it's match game. Hit the ground running, really do it for my last name. They act different when the facts change. I'm not with the tip for tag games. In my own league, I don't chase game. In my own league, I don't hang with lanes. I know I've been quiet for a minute, I've been grinding, still in it, I've been counting these digits. Excuse me, I know I've been quiet for a minute, but I'm back on my business. If you see me, don't trip, just excuse me. Wrong if I do, wrong if I don't. That's why I do me no matter what, so excuse me. Lie if I do, lie if I don't. The proof is in the story, take a seat and excuse me. Now how could that be? Talking about who can be talking about me. Feeling like Stretch where I got all this reach. Feeling too blessed when I step on these beats.